We turn in our blue card yet? All right. That's Hello. That's it. Welcome. We're going to call the meeting to order and start like we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We have no reportable actions out of closed session, but I need a motion from the board on B8.
I move B8.
Okay, moved by Director Anderson.
And second?
Second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Anderson. Director Sheffield.
Aye.
Director Christoph. Director Fong.
Aye.
Director Pugh.
Aye.
President Close.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. C4, statements of abstention. Do we have any? Adjustments to the agenda? Board member requests for information? C7, approval of minutes of regular board meeting held March 14th, 2018.
I move C7.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Christoph, second by Director Anderson. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph.
Aye.
Director Anderson.
Aye.
Director Fong.
Aye.
Director Pugh. Director Sheffield.
Aye.
President Close.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries and brings us to public comment on non-agenda items. This is the opportunity for the public to address the board on issues that are not on the agenda. If you have anything that relates to a personnel matter, I would direct you to talk to Assistant Superintendent Lee, who is sitting right there in the center and raising his hand. Otherwise, we can hear you for anything not on the agenda. We have a lot of blue cards for public comment not on the agenda, and we also have a lot of blue cards for F1. So instead of 3 minutes on this public comment not on the agenda, I'm going to reduce it to 2. And I'll call one, and then the next person, if you can queue up at one of the 3 microphones. So we will start with Jamie Fuse. We're warming up the buzzer. And after that will be Amelia Stock Cummings.
And I'm a sophomore at Montgomery High School, and I've had the opportunity to take a class that has encouraged me to do better and to do something to impact my planet. It has come to my understanding that the sustainability program at my school will be unnecessarily terminated. In the past year, I've come to the realization that I care so much about this planet. These classes, I am positive, will bring multiple generations to come to feel exactly how I feel. Please take into consideration that this isn't just your planet anymore, it's mine, your grandchildren's, and many more generations to come. people who will be here longer than you will, so please do what you can to keep these classes going. My teacher, Miss Matson, has opened up several doors for my peers and I, anywhere from environmental experiences to soon-to-be internships that will lead to careers later on in life if these classes continue. I'm sure some of you don't know the impact of water bottles or what solar power does for us or what hemp really does, and these are all things that I have learned in depth taking these classes, and I've learned things that we do every day that negatively affects our planet. These are just some of the many things that I've learned while taking my classes. Me and my friends are truly shocked that these classes will be terminated. Please take into consideration what I've stated above. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Amelia Scott Cummings and then John Lloyd.
Hello, I'm Amelia Stock Cummings, and I go to Credo High School. And I can say with confidence that the sustainability program at my school is the most engaging and fun and amazing program that we have. And even though I do not know if my school is going to be in direct effect of these budget cuts, I can say that I would just be devastated if it was. And I really feel for the students at Montgomery who are having their program cut. And I think there's just so much about sustainability that we have yet to learn. And there's so many career opportunities that are going to open up that I can't remember this exact statistic, but there's a crazy amount of jobs when I'm of the age of like having a job that haven't even been that haven't existed yet before. And I would just, I don't know, I didn't realize I was going to be speaking so soon.
You're doing great.
I just really hope that you would listen to me and everything else that everybody else has to say, and I really appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you. John Lloyd and then Nevin Wolf Saludi. John Lloyd. Going once. Nevin.
I didn't understand. Is this on up here?
Are you John Lloyd?
Yes.
Okay, you're on.
Okay. Is this mic on? Okay.
It is.
You know, I hear that you're getting rid of the environmental studies courses. I've considered this to be a very big mistake. When Len Greenwood had the Green Academy, I taught his students, along with IBEW electricians, solar installation and green studies. This is something that's needed. These kids are out working in this industry. And look outside. Sustainable landscape, Solar American City, and our school system is going to dump these courses. This is not right. Not right. Too much of this is being done all around the country. It's starting to sound like something from the Trump administration. They're going to dump everything that has anything to do with green. California cannot do that. Our school system here in Sonoma County cannot do that. That's not right. It's an injustice to our kids. So I want to see more happen in the green studies. I've offered to come in and help Melissa with her courses free. I don't care about being paid. I enjoy working with the kids and I enjoy seeing them get jobs in the green industry. And that's what we've done for years. But now that I'm retired, I teach less, but I'm still there. I'm still in that industry and I'm there all the time. We just taught some youth build courses. We did youth build that built solar systems for grid alternatives here in Santa Rosa. Don't do away with this.
Thank you. Nevin Wolf Saludi, followed by Melissa Matson.
Hi, I'm Nevin Wolf Saludi. I'm a junior at Credo High School in Roanoke Park. And I'm aware that the Sonoma County Office of Education recently passed a resolution stating that they would take action on climate change in their schools. And to see that go through and feel that support and then see programs like these cut just seems wrong to me, because as a student who's going to be growing up in a world that I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what the job opportunities are, but also what our climate here in Santa Rosa has already changed visibly, and with our recent natural disaster that can be related to climate, I just don't know what the future is going to look like, but I would like to show my support for these programs that keep students engaged and keep students enrolled in schools because they have something that connects to, you know, the real world that they're facing. And it's very engaging curriculum, as hard as it can be to learn about these things. And I understand that there's always a problem with money, there's always a budget, that's always a focus, but I do think that there are some things that we can do that make our schools more sustainable and also reduce costs. There are lots of different things, but I hope that these programs can stay and that students get these opportunities for their future. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Matson, then Michelle Mazzeo, followed by Angel Collins.
Hi, I'm back here tonight because I was here a few weeks ago and I let the public know and parents know and students know what was happening with the environmental studies program. And I know you got lots of letters, and at some point they're starting to come back as just a blank form thing. They all say the same thing. And it says that it was a site decision, that it was my administrator that made that decision. It was based on numbers. But when I met with that administrator, he told me it was because of seniority. He said it was because I was the lowest in seniority in CTE. But if you look at the seniority list, it doesn't even say CTE under my name. It says special education. I'm also concerned that the district looked at that and having a shortage of special education teachers, maybe used that in their decision. I don't know. I really don't understand all this. It doesn't make sense why this would be cut. And also then on March 7th, you passed the resolution to cut a 6.0 CTE teacher, but the numbers weren't even known until our PAC meeting on the 23rd. So that doesn't make sense either. I want to let you know my administration changed their tune. In the summer, they wanted to see cohorts of 90 students in a linked learning program that would blend AVID and IB and make Montgomery known for their environmental studies program. After the fire, I met with my administrators and they said, you can't cohort next year, so you are no longer called a program. You are now just electives. You cannot, I had emailed Slater saying, I'm gonna come over, I'm coordinating this program. You know, every year we come over and we recruit. That's how the kids here are in the program, because they had past students come in and recruit them and tell them about the amazing things they are. Not enough people know what the word sustainability means. I can't really expect a 7th and 8th grader to know what that means. So then after the fires, they told me that. I couldn't even advertise in my own school that it was an elective because they said it would take away that. So if you wonder why the numbers are a little low, that's why. So I want to ask you that you ask Mr. Burbank, because you are the school board, and I hope that you set the values to at least let me have one of those classes to support that.
Okay, thank you.
I should have had 3.
Michelle Mazzeo.
I don't think she's here, but can you call her a name again at the end? She's trying to
We're at the end. Angel Collins.
Hi there, my name is Angel Collins. I am a senior at Montgomery High School, and I wanted to comment on the same subject of the Environmental Studies program. I think that this is a very important way for a student to apply themselves. This is for a lot of kids who may not be doing sports or may not be doing arts, but this is a chance for them to see change within their school and see something that they did, whether or not it'll be in the yearbook or not. It's something that they're going to be able to put forth and see the importance of something that they can do within their own hands by visiting places. Like today I came here to learn about the construction that went on here to make this place more like friendly and for the environment, and I thought that was wonderful. And without this program, I would have never been able to appreciate nor come up with the ideas to understand what goes into something that would happen like this in my own hometown. And without something like this, there wouldn't be the adults to be there to have a foundation for these kids, and giving some sort of opportunity for us is something that I think is phenomenal. I never got a chance to do this class full time, nor I've been around people who had the opportunity as well, and I think it's something that should be advertised, should be kept in my school, and should be some well-nourished program, and it's tough to see that it isn't any longer. So I would really love to keep it in your consideration and keep it under, I don't know, a watchful eye just for the next generation of people to be inspired to apply themselves in some way that isn't a commonly found ground like sports and arts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michelle Mazzio, last chance. Okay, so we'll move on to reports, starting with the CSEA. President Afonso, I saw you up there. You just missed it, Omar. All right. Omar. So this is not on the agenda, Omar? Okay. Omar Medina.
Hi, Board. Thank you for giving me these couple minutes. I'll keep it really short. I really just wanted to take this opportunity to bring up Assembly Bill 2772. I know you'll be discussing high school graduation requirements soon. I'd say take the opportunity to really look at AB 2772. It's about making the work that's already been passed at the legislative level around ethnic studies, instead of just making it a recommendation, making it a requirement. So I'd say be progressive in terms of your decision making, include ethnic studies as a requirement. For students of color like myself, being able to see ourselves reflected in the curriculum, it's critically important. It's really lacking, and simultaneously, ethnic studies classes foster greater understanding amongst peoples. So please take the time to look at AB 2772 and, if possible, pass a resolution in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you ready now?
I am.
President Afonso, take it away.
Thank you. President Close, Superintendent, board members. Our chapter looks forward to our next negotiation date that is coming up shortly, and hope to find resolution at that time. We also have pause on the fact that we're going to be putting signs in front of the schools. Have we considered using those dollars for additional safety issues for the students? Just a thought. All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. SRTA, President Lyon.
Good evening, President Close and Dan Kitamura and members of the board. I know A through G is on the docket later. I want to announce SRTA does not have an official position on exactly what to do, but I do want to make a statement on behalf of SRTA that any curriculum changes that happen should be in partnership with teachers. It shouldn't be top down. It should be a we instead of a them or an imposition, and that would be A through G or any other major curriculum changes. We also think that our students who are struggling need support, whether they're in an A through G class or not. And we think that our academic students who are challenging themselves to move up into honors and AP classes need support. So we think those are all important issues. Otherwise, we have smart members who are passionate on all sides of the issue, and SRTA does not have an official position on that at this time. I also want to mention that we're going to miss Andre Bell. He did a really good job with us with the Budget Advisory Committee. We hope that his predecessor or predecessors will continue that committee. We think we got about halfway there. We really opened up a lot of transparency, and we think that's going to be an important part of getting our financial health back in order. And the other thing I want to talk about, I think I'm going to say it when we get to the CalTurn part, the LMC part of the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go to D3, Labor Management Collaborative Report. There's some confusion. It's adding to the drama.
So at our last LMC meeting, we discussed processes that we will be using moving forward. And we'll be using we'll be using different processes depending on what the subject is that we're dealing with. Also, we're looking at moving out into a pilot school, which was one of our goals after coming back from conference.
There it is. We are doing SRTA initiated with the support of the district office and with Pioneer High School, especially Tim Zoldanaro, that we're doing a listen up project, so what we're calling it. It's basically a listening tour. We did that last week. We were there on Wednesday and Thursday. We got just under half, we had 35 out of 72 of the members where we were able to interview. Tomorrow, I'll be back on campus to share out the report of the data with the members, and it's really a brainstorm at this point. Here are all the, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 word noun bullet point things that got mentioned that we're going to share out with them. The goal is to prioritize that list to see if we can find an issue or 2 or 3 that we can organize around to win life-altering changes to our working conditions. And we're going to share that out with the adults there, with the administration rather there. And spoiler alert, the things that are on the list are all fixable, and none of them can be fixed if we don't work on it together, which is exactly the whole point of the LMC committee, in my opinion. So I think it was sort of a good place to start. I also think that those things that are on the list, I don't know what will get prioritized by those members, but many of the things on those lists are issues that go beyond Pioneer High School, that if we can make some inroads into solving and making better, we'll be able to take that out into other schools and make those life-altering improvements throughout the district, or at least more than one school. So I think that was a positive outcome there. We'll report back more with Tim and Pioneer High School administration once the teachers get a chance to kind of prioritize the list and identify some solutions. We won't want to bring problems without solutions. That's it.
Superintendent, do you have anything on the LMC? All right, we'll go to Superintendent's report.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm going to start out tonight's report speaking about an event that happened today at Cook Middle School, and that was the ribbon cutting for our Head Start program there at Cook Middle School. 3 brand new classrooms and playground, absolutely beautiful. This opening was supposed to happen in October, but of course during the fires it all got delayed. What it reminded me, and actually Mayor Corsi was there as well to give his greetings, as well as Congressman Thompson. It's just a reminder about the investment that we've put into facilities is really about an investment in our children. That early childhood education is extremely important in order for us to increase graduation rates, improve test performance, reduce grade repeating. So I really, really appreciate the community support, because that really is about CAP Sonoma. It is about the County of Sonoma with First 5, all working together to be able to provide early childhood education in the form of Head Start at the Cook campus. The next thing I wanted to talk about was today we had a district advisory committee meeting again. That's with parents, 3 parents representing each of the sites, as well as the principals coming together to help guide and give feedback to, primarily it is supposed to be about our LCAP, and which it is, and today they got to experience from one of our principals, Elisa Haley from Lehman, Walk to Read, and the results that she's getting in reading growth for her students. We also talked about some other data, some Let's Go Learn data looking at K through 6. So I really, really appreciate the parents coming and providing their feedback. And the last thing I want to mention is about, let me get it, Burbank Elementary. So I don't know if you heard, but they won Division I of the Science Olympiad. 17 Burbank children, grades 4, 5, and 6, participated. They competed against 14 other elementaries in Sonoma County, and this is the 5th time that they've been the overall winner. And I want to thank their teacher coaches, Ross Haas and Ann West.
All right, thank you. So in my report, I've gotten lucky and get to spend some time at schools in the last couple of weeks. I got to read at Steele Lane and Helen Lehman on Dr. Seuss's birthday, which is really the best day of the year, I think. Got to spend a morning at Maria Carrillo on the Day of Dialogue, and want to thank Vice Principal Katie Barr for the invitation and for providing me an opportunity to have a really great talk with some high schoolers. That was a great event. This morning, I started off the day in Ruth Moore's class talking about the practice of law and how to prepare a case, because they're studying the Supreme Court. And all of these students are so well behaved, and I'm so impressed with them. I met with the Chamber about ways the Chamber can work with us to help support our students. Yesterday, we had a meeting with CSBA, the executive director and his team, who came to talk with Director Pugh and the superintendent and her cabinet and myself about our response to the wildfires. And it was actually kind of tough going, talking through the first 2 weeks again, from beginning to end. But again, I was really impressed with our staff and how hard they worked during those first 2 weeks to make sure that our teachers and students were supported and that we got to open school as fast as possible. Want to make an announcement that at the next meeting, April 11th here, we will start a new thing where when we do Students of the Month and parent-teacher reports or parent organization reports from the school sites, we will also be awarding a teacher and a classified employee a Employee of the Month award here from the board. And the last thing is I wanted to thank all the teachers of all the students who helped organize and appear at the rally and march on Saturday to try to end gun violence. You guys have raised an amazing group of civically active and smart and caring youth. And then I also want to say, who is there? Raise your hand if you were there at the march, or were any of you guys there, or did you read about it? Margie Brady Long, look at that enthusiastic hand. Well, it was fantastic. And the kids there were so impressive. They were the best speakers of the day. And so I just wanted to mention that I was so impressed with those students and impressed with the efforts in general on a national level. And with that, we'll go to board reports. We'll start with Director Sheffield.
I'll just echo a little bit of what Director Close had to say. It was really amazing at the Rally for Our Lives, 2,000 plus turnout, student driven. It was really something to see. Let's see, this morning with Superintendent Kitamura and Assistant Superintendent Guzman, I was at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Head Start, early Head Start classrooms at Cook Middle School. It was, we started our day with little ones singing to us. It was very nice. A address from Congressman Mike Thompson, Mayor Corsi, Diane did an incredible job speaking and representing city schools, and we cut the ribbon. There's also a really nice playground out back. Let's see, I also visited Monroe Elementary, had a tour with Principal Smith. We discussed Saturday school, afternoon programs with the Boys and Girls Club. Visited Mrs. Godfrey's class. They were studying U.S. colonies and the American Revolution and the Boston Massacre. The students were very excited about the Boston Massacre. Mrs. Hammond's second grade class, they were making leprechaun traps. I also popped in at Piner for the Student Day of Dialogue, sat in and listened to some discussion on gun violence. And that is what I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Anderson.
I attended the parent information sessions at Carrillo. There were two. One was on drug use and a lot of concerns around increased drug use at Carrillo. And the second one was on school safety, especially after the episodes of graffiti being found in the bathrooms. And in both instances, there were really, really concerned parents and a lot of tense conversation. And they were very difficult topics, and I think they were super important conversations that need to continue. Staff did an outstanding job of responding to the concerns. Obviously, these aren't the kinds of concerns that you can solve in an evening's conversation, but they heard the parents' stress and sometimes anger. Nothing brings out the parental instincts than to think that your child is in danger at school. I hope that we can continue to have those types of dialogues in the district. Last night I attended the William Barclay Memorial Choral Scholarship Concert, which is the all-city choral concert where all of our comprehensive high schools come together and show, a bit of what they are doing individually, and then they unite at the end under the directorship of a guest conductor and sing as one united group. And it's the most beautiful community event of the year, I think. And this year's guest conductor was Ken Rodden, who is a really respected choral conductor in Northern California. And at the end, he gives a few words, and you always expect the guest conductor to say that your group had the best rhythm or the best tone or, beautiful voices. Well, what he said about our kids was that they were the kindest group of students he'd ever worked with, and that they are a model of what civil society should be like. If we're going to get any compliment, I think that's the one I want.
Director Pugh.
I attended the Rally for Our Lives March. It was fabulous, as well was said here. The eloquence of the young people speaking from the heart was quite moving. And I also have to say that Ed Sheffield's presentation was spot on and great. He did a good presentation. And then I also attended the CSBA meeting on the Tubbs fire and what can the state do to help us.
Thank you. Director Fong.
I want to revisit by calling out Lincoln and complimenting the staff at Lincoln School for their response, meeting the entire CSCA. Tammy, thank you for getting everyone together, and the teachers, talking about what's happening for their school, what they value in their school, and I understand they're very excited to have their school, and there's a renewal there, so I just say right on, you guys. And then I also want to thank all of the teachers, administrative staffs at the sites, and our district administrators for all the timely responses you have put out in the past couple of weeks for the threats that have been toward our schools, toward our kids, written in the bathroom, the graffiti and like that. And I think your responses all over from site to district have been exemplary, and I'm very pleased and proud and thankful for that kind of response. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Director Christoph. Okay, well, let's move to the CSBA report then. Director Christoph.
Good evening. I attended my second legislative committee meeting last Thursday and Friday in Sacramento. And it's quite an impressive operation. There are 20 school board members from around the state, large districts such as LA, medium large districts such as Fresno, districts our size, which are small, large, and then districts with schools of 3 or 4 or 5 schools within them. The process is which is really impressive to me. It's a first-class staff that prepares the information for us. We review bills. We have 47 bills this time, and then 21 on consent. The summaries are just very well written. The analyses is, top-notch. The discussion that goes on, you would think with 20 people that it could be a little tough, but it really is professionally done. And the insights that, I have gained just from listening to people and seeing the give and take and the fact that people are willing to bend and that's a better idea and so on is, to me, is very, impressive and refreshing in a lot of ways. 2228, our fire funding bill, CSBA's position on that is to try and continue to push for 100% funding. There were bills on social media that talk about possibly having a class on bullying and responsible use of social media. I think the big item, actually, is Omar still here? We did talk about ethnic studies, and I think CSBA's position is really to leave it up to the school districts whether they want to have it mandatory or embedded in various courses. So again, the CSBA's position is the closer to home, that's the better way to make a decision. So that was discussed. School safety plans, really out of the 47 bills, there were several, and there was a lot of discussion about this. And the one thing I found out is there is no set idea that seems to work for anybody. I think that there was one district that felt that they wanted to have a large influence on all their schools, but most of the school districts were saying that they needed to have the decision-making done at the site level through site council, which we do now. But of course, the real new component of this is the active shooter and how do you deal with it. The one bill that was proposed essentially said that you would have a first responder be a part of that site council. That was discussed. We had a couple of first responders on the committee, and they essentially talked us out of that idea. But expertise is important to help people with their safety plans at the site level. So that's a tricky situation because the first responders that mentioned this said that not all people are qualified to discuss that area. So that's up in the air. It's not real clear about what should take place there. The idea of templates was brought up, and there are a few school districts that have a template that allow the sites to modify them. So again, within this group of thoughtful people, there are a lot of unsure, unknown, and we're kind of in that category too. But we definitely want to do something about it. One idea that was rejected by CSBA was a proposal to have an armed armed security guard on every campus in the state. And then they modified the bill to see if they could get some support to say it had to be an SRO, but that didn't gain traction either. The other thing I wanted to mention was that there seemed to be within this group a lot of discussion about more CTE and more support for CTE and alt ed, and it just seemed like there was this, this need in many of the districts to move in these directions and get more funding for it. The last thing I do want to mention is that the budget news seems to be good for this right now. There's most people probably aware of this that are following it. $3 billion worth of new money going to public schools, and that's ongoing. And there's another $1.5 billion that CSBA feels should be ongoing, that the governor's trying to say is one-time money, but that is to be resolved. But that should mean some relief for districts like us. It's not going to solve huge problems, but that is good news. So I'll stop there for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Christoph. Okay, so we're...
One more thing, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, President Close. I also wanted to announce that our own Frank Pugh will be inaugurated this next week as NSBA president. And for you that don't know this organization, this is the organization that represents school districts throughout the nation. California is a large state. We have 1,000 school districts. Mr. Pugh has been president of CSBA, and now he's moving on to bigger things. What is it, 30,000 districts in the United States right now? Something like that. Anyway, this is a very prestigious moment for him, and it's, I think, very proud moment for Santa Rosa City Schools to have one of our own as NSBA president.
Thank you. Frank is kind of a big deal. We'll go to the consent agenda. Everything falls apart with emotions when Bill Carl is gone.
I move items E1 through E9 on
Second.
the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Wait, there's only,
We handled it. Moved by Director Pugh, seconded by Director Christoph. Roll call vote, please, Renee.
Director Pugh? Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong?
aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay. Motion carries, and that brings us to our F items, starting with F1, discussion Common Core standards and university requirements, access to college and career.
Okay, just give us a second while I have those presenting with me come to the table. Where's the photo? Yeah, Socorro's going to be here. No. Okay, thank you. Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight, with this team, we will be presenting a report on the Common Core standards and university requirements, access to college and career. Being handed out is some additional data information. The board has it, and also you are supplied with some additional slides that were added to the presentation, which will be uploaded after this evening. Starting off our report tonight, we're going to tell 3 stories. I have the first. The first story is about a young man who attended one of our comprehensive high schools. He was in a non-academic classes. He had an advocate who came and advocated for him. And it didn't come to fruition at that high school that he was able to be put into those classes. He transferred to another comprehensive high school within our district, was put in A through G courses, did quite well. And he's graduating in 2018 this June and is off to a university where he'll be a part of their athletic program.
Hello. This story relates to the aspect of access from the perspective of student advocacy. A student had registered in the spring for an A through G academic course for the following year. When she received her schedule upon coming to school, the science class she received was not the A through G class she had signed up for. She realized this immediately and did ask to have the course changed. She was informed her schedule could not be changed. The student explained, "I really want to go to a 4-year university." However, even with this knowledge, her request was not honored. She called in her mother for help. The mother also asked that her daughter be placed in a different science class as the plan was to apply to a 4-year college. They were told the junior college here is an excellent institution. The parent did not disagree, but again, said our goal is a 4-year college. Due to the student understanding and her own advocacy for her to be in an A through G required course and her parents' advocacy, she was assigned to the correct science course where she is currently being successful.
Good evening. I want to share another quick story with you. I'm a counselor for Santa Rosa City Schools.
We need everybody to speak up a little bit louder. We got a lot of people in here and little ones, so.
Okay. I had a student last year who I noticed had a high SBAC score and who was in a sheltered English support class. I had offered to change his class to an academic class at the semester, and he was very hesitant, but agreed. He then had his parent call the school to request a change back to his sheltered class. During the same time, the CEL scores came in, and I noticed that he received an early advanced score. I was able to use that early advanced score along with his SBAC to reclassify him to fluent in English. I was calling him from his class to congratulate him when I noticed that his schedule was changed back to a sheltered class. I met with his mom and him, and I explained that he did not belong in that class. His SBAC score was higher than a lot of academic students. He agreed to move once again to make a change to his schedule. And this is what, within a week, he had moved 3 times because of lack of understanding. Why am I telling you this story? Because there are others like him. Students who have a desire, but due to lack of understanding, prefer to take classes where they feel comfortable. I'm telling you this story because we need to push students. We need to believe in them enough, more than they believe in themselves. This particular student graduated with a 4.0 GPA. He was fearful but succeeded in a regular college prep class. How many more students are we missing that would also be successful in an academic setting? If you ask me, I think the answer is too many. Thank you.
Before we go on, would you introduce yourselves?
Thanks.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Goyle, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Hi, Socorro Rojas, Soul Counselor.
The graph you're looking at represents a 3-year snapshot of UC CSU eligible graduates. As this graph shows, the state is represented by blue and the county is represented by red. These two bars are trending upward in regards to the number of students graduating, meeting the A through G requirements, or in other terms, UC CSU eligible. The gold bar represents our district and that our trend for graduating UC CSU eligible students is going down.
Hi, I'm Steve Mazur, Assistant Superintendent, Student and Family Services. This bar represents incoming 9th grade students that are Resource Specialist students, RSP. RSP students, if you're not aware, are students on a continuum, are intellectually capable of their peers. They have an auditory, a processing, visual, perhaps a deficit that requires them to have special ed services. In our current practices, this chart indicates that over 77.84% in the district of our RSP students entering 9th grade English classes are off track and do not automatically consider themselves for UC and CSU. This is, I'm more worried about, although these are independent decisions that every individual educational plan makes, it is important to understand that the default should be an access to an A through G course.
Brian Van Dyke, Director of Data Testing and Assessment. So this slide represents our the first 4-year cohort group that we have data from the state of California. And to help understand what a cohort group is, these are students that started in our district as 9th graders, continued as sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So these are our students. We've had them all 4 years of their high school program. In our district, 37% of our students overall are going to graduate UC or CSU ready. A couple other highlights on this slide is in our Hispanic population, approximately 23.6%. Our English learners are down at the 10.5%. They graduate, but they're graduating at a very low rate for the UC CSU readiness.
This next slide talks about the report that's a part of your packet. EdTrust West did an extensive look at the state's largest ethnic group and how they're doing in California educational system. We have 3 million Latino students in K-12 currently, and what they found was that those students, Latinos, attend the nation's most segregated schools. They are often tracked away from college prep coursework, are sometimes perceived as less academically capable than their white or Asian peers, are less likely to feel connected to their school environment, and are more likely to be required to take remedial courses at college or universities. So therefore, maybe a degree that would take 4 years could possibly take 5 or 6 years.
This slide's in preparation of the next slide, and I just want to remind the audience that at LC Allen High School, approximately 78.1% of the students are Hispanic, and in the district, that overall percentage is 47.7%. Here we've taken a snapshot of a kind of a variety of different slices of courses, and we're focused on just one school to keep the volume of data down. So the first 2 columns on the left is just that first slide. The next slide are non-A to G core courses. So this would be English, Math, Social Studies, Science. And of those, there are 8 classes at LC Allen that fit within that band, and approximately 79% of the population in those classes mirrors the population of are Hispanic, and that mirrors the population of the school at large. The same can be said of their A to G courses. So there are approximately 182 A to G courses at LC Allen, and again, the Hispanic population in those courses mimics the population of the school at large. That also holds true in their special ed program as well as their CTE program. And though the honors in AP is slightly lower, within about a 10% band, it's still relatively within that same band. This slide shows that in the A to G world for the Hispanic population, they have a fairly equitable access to the curriculum at LC Allen. This next slide is preparation for the following slide to remind us about unduplicated pupil count. And remember, an unduplicated pupil is somebody who is either a language learner, a limited income student, or foster youth, or they could be 2 or 3 of those in the classification. So LC Allen has approximately 69.5% of their population as UPC students, and district-wide that population is about 51.5%. And again, we looked at the same slice of courses and how are the UPC students represented at LC. Still fairly consistent in terms of equity, although there's some work to do. What we see is the hard work that LC Allen has done in providing that curricular opportunities for their staff, for their students, is paying off in terms of opportunities for students at LC.
Good evening. Again, Ronnie Goyle, Director of Curriculum Instruction, and I do want to read the quote that is available to you on your slide. The Common Core standards provide teachers and districts a roadmap for developing courses that cultivate the deep understandings required for college and career preparation. This quote comes directly from a letter in 2014 to the CDE authored by Bruce Harris, Chancellor of California Community Colleges, Janet Napolitano, President of the University of California, Kristen Soares, President, Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities, and Timothy P. White, Chancellor of the California State University. Furthermore, the letter went on to state, in concert with this transition, the A through G requirements for CSU and UC admission, specifically areas B, English, or C, mathematics, have been updated to align with the Common Core standards and the messages being transmitted to schools, parents, and students. And that the implementation of the Common Core standards has the potential to dramatically improve college readiness and help close the preparation gap that exists for California students. The A through G subject requirements, updated to match the Common Core standards, are designed to ensure that students have attained a body of general knowledge that will provide breadth and perspective to new, more advanced study. It is this intent that truly provides the focus for the core principles of equity and opportunity, as A through G courses and Common Core provide the basic entry point for all students and learning and does not assume all students are college bound. Rather, A through G and Common Core courses provide all students the requisite skills and knowledge to be successful in any post-secondary pursuit. As described, it is not just college readiness that is the focus here, but also career readiness. Research completed by the ACT found that 90% of the skills needed to be successful in a post-secondary career are acquired through a college-going curriculum. College and career access also means college and career readiness.
Santa Rosa City School has already expressed this belief. In our strategic plan, we have already developed that college and career students in Santa Rosa City Schools will graduate as confident college and career-ready students who have mastered academic content, are problem solvers, collaborators, communicators, technologically illiterate, and who understand the need for continuing learning. We have already enshrined this in our board policies, specifically in Board Policy 6011. The Board of Education shall adopt high standards for student achievement which challenge all students to reach their full potential and specify what students are expected to know and to be able to do at each grade level and in each area of study. These standards reflect the knowledge and skills needed for students that will be adequately prepared for the post-secondary education, employment, and responsible citizenship. More specifically, in later policy, we have described that for each grade level, the board shall adopt academic standards that meet or exceed the Common Core state standards.
In front of you are a comparison of our graduation requirements compared to the A through G requirements. As you can see, we are aligned in several areas. In English, both require 4 years. In lab science, our district and A through G, 2 years. VAPA, Visual and Performing Arts, CTE, 1 year, and the College Prep Elective, 1 year. There is a little bit of a difference between our graduation requirements and A through G. In one area, we actually surpass A through G, and that is in history, where we require 3 years to graduate, and A through G is 2 years. In math, our requirement is 2 years inclusive of Algebra 1 or soon to be Math 1. In math under A through G, it is 3 years requirement inclusive of Algebra 2 or soon to be Math 3. Language other than English, LOTE, which is our world languages, we have a 1 year requirement and A through G is a 2 year requirement. So as you can see, we're aligned very closely to A through G and we have many commonalities.
So how do we ensure that the graduating class of 2023 has access to prepare them to be college and career ready? As we talked about, possible change in policy, looking at our graduation requirements. As we've had over the last 5 years, lots of rich professional development, but growth as educators continues. And so the continuing development of best first instruction is important. Industry-driven CTE pathways. As we know, there's sort of been a different need now, specifically with the fire. So looking at really where is industry needing us to make sure that we are preparing the students for college and career ready. As we talked about at the beginning of this presentation, strong advocacy for our students to be able to have the access available to them. And we can't do this alone. To provide education for our parents around college and career readiness, not just through our college and career hubs, but through different methods as well. And again, the community, mentorship, internship, and apprenticeships, being able to provide opportunities for our students to see what's outside of the classroom. And obviously, in concert, to make sure that we are all prepared, embedded academic supports that assist us as we scaffold. And through that, we also have the EL Master Plan and the Advanced Learner Master Plan, which also needs embedded supports to be able to lift so that we can support all of our students. As you can see above is the list of districts who provided equitable access throughout California, some close to us like Sonoma Valley. Some of the questions that were asked, and these are some of the new slides that are part of your presentation tonight by the board, are, is there data that shows the number of percentage of courses by department, by school that are A through G? Is there data that shows the number or percentages of special education students enrolled by department of school? And lastly, what other Sonoma County school districts have A through G as the minimum course requirement? And so with that, we're going to answer some of those questions.
So this slide is one of the busiest ones, and I see our efforts to get those percentages in the center to print properly failed one more time. The printed copy in front of you, I believe, doesn't have that issue. So the layout here is we looked at all the courses within departments, that, actually, if you can just, oh, you're working on it. All the courses within a department that meet A to G are compared to all the courses within that department. So as an example, if you look at biological science at Elsie Allen High School, they have 16 sections total. So anything that fits within the biological science department is counted there. Of those 16, 11 of those courses are in the A to G area for approximately 69% of the course offerings under the biological science area to be considered A to G. And it's different at different school sites. I do want to highlight English and math as a couple of areas that are, in looking at and putting this together, they're really kind of difficult to nail down completely. In English, we have 52 sections that are offered at Elsie Allen High School. Some of those sections fall under the special ed curriculum. Some of them fall under the A to G description. Some of them fall under kind of the rest of that continuum. So of those 52, which is a pretty big pot of opportunities for students to take classes, 33 or 63% of those classes are considered A to G. Looking at the school, still focused on that first column of Elsie, in total of the courses in the represented departments, 202 of those courses total, 142 of those are opportunities, if you will, for a student to take an A to G class. We're not able to quantify how many students take a course through the early college magnet or university center courses at the present time. So that information would not be represented in this slide. Thank you, Rick. So here we're looking at, we've divided the question, we've divided the school into two types of students, either a special ed student or a student who is not special ed. So looking again, focusing on the first column of Elsie Allen, their total enrollment is 1,090, I forgot what the sum of those two numbers are. It's 844 plus 191. Pressure of public speaking, I can't do the math. So when we looked at students that are enrolled in A to G courses, so here the focus is just A to G courses. In the biological science, 235 of those students in A to G courses are non-special ed students, and 32 of those students are special ed students. And then that pattern is repeated throughout the slide in the various departments. And the next slide.
Rand, can you speak up a little bit, please?
And the next slide represents those special ed numbers as a % of population in the courses. So between the last two slides, we thought it was a little crowded to try and lay all that percentage in to get it to fit into one place. So the view here is how many students are enrolled in, how many special ed students are enrolled in A to G courses. And if you go back one slide, please. At the bottom gold bar, if you will, is the average number of special ed courses students are taking. So at Elsie Allen, the non-special ed student is typically taking 4.2 A to G courses, and the special ed student would be taking 1.8. And then the rest of the schools and districts are laid out in the slide.
And lastly, in answering the last question about whether other Sonoma County schools, sorry, I was just looking, have A through G as a minimum course, El Molino, Annalee, Windsor, Rancho Cotati, Healdsburg, Petaluma, and Roseland. And with that, we turn it back over to the board.
Thank you. Dr. Guzman, before you turn it back over to us, can you, I don't know if the comparative districts data is available to people in the audience.
It has been passed out to the, sorry, I'm just grabbing it. So the comparison data that you have before you and the audience has before you is comparing sort of the districts that have gone A through G compared to Santa Rosa City Schools and how they're doing as a whole over post and I cannot talk. Pre-post, thank you, after going A through G. And so it's broken up, as you can see, if you have the colored, I can put it up there, I guess. Mr. Mazzara is going to, Assistant Superintendent Mazzara is going to put it up so everybody can see. So in looking at San Diego, you can see that grad rates in 2009-10 were at 83%. After going A through G, it went up to 87%. For Latino students in San Diego, they were at 73, and then it went up to 91% for the graduation rate. For A through G completion for all students, 44 to 59. A through G completion for Latino students, 32 to 51. Dropout rates, 4.5, and it dropped to 3.3. And dropout rates for Latino students, 12% to 5%. There are other three different districts that are shown here, San Diego, Napa, and Vallejo, which all show gains once they adopted A through G policies.
Thank you. Thanks, and this was passed out and then we can upload it after.
Yeah, we just passed it out, and we will upload it into the minutes with the up-to-date PowerPoint as well, with the additional data slides.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for the report, and I know this is complicated and there's a lot of data, so a lot of it's hard to digest, but so we'll discuss afterwards, but first we have a whole lot of blue cards, which is good. We want to hear from all of you. Because we have so many, I am going to limit comments to 2 minutes. And if anyone has comments in common and want to come up together, you can do that too. And so I will call one at a time and call the next person so you can be ready, okay? Oh, and if you need, Renee, make sure if we need a translator that it's 4 minutes. Michael Varela, after that is Lindsay Bersina. Michael Varela.
Testing. Okay. Honorable Superintendent, Board President, and Board of Directors, thank you for hosting this very crucial discussion on a crucial topic that affects our entire future. My name is Michael Varela. I'm the Program Manager at Via Esperanza Centro de Educación in Southwest Santa Rosa. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself, in no way representing my employer or any other organization that I am a part of. That was a lot of information in the presentation, and I'm having problems gathering my thoughts. But basically, in my time at Via Esperanza, I've been very proud of the work that we do at our center and at CAP Sonoma, and investing in the future of our entire families, the parents, the students, and working with our partners, First Five, the school districts, and many other nonprofits to show our families that we are investing in them, in our future, and not just paying lip service to the questions, concerns that they all have, and very, very real issues that we are confronting here. And all of this kind of came to kind of a nice little junction today at the ribbon cutting for our new Head Start and Early Head Start building ribbon cuttings. And it was great to see many of you out there. It was really amazing to see the support for the families, for the students, in this big coalition of different stakeholders and different supporters. And it really comes down to this. We're showing them that we're investing in the early education, but really, what are we doing to take those next steps? We're providing a great beginning, but if we're not helping them get to the finish line, really, we're just paying lip service. So I'm here personally to urge you all to look beyond just providing the A through G requirements. That's, for me, really a no-brainer. It's really not just giving them the quality, but giving them equality, but also giving them the equity. On my drive over here from Cook Middle School, I was actually listening to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, a song named Power of Equality, and it got me thinking about equality, and really, we need equity. We are establishing this road, now let's give them the vehicle to get to college, get to the finish line.
Thank you, Michael. Lindsay Bersina and then Rocio Sumano.
Hello, my name is Lindsay. So I would like to speak about, of course, the A through G requirements. I do believe that they should be a part of all schools. I mean, when you think about it, even if you're not going to go to a four-year college right away and you're just going to go to the JC, which is amazing, how are you going to pass your entrance exams to figure out which classes you're going to be in? You might have to take remedial classes and pay for them because you didn't learn in high school what you should have learned for free. Every kid deserves the chance to be college ready. And, if you put them in a college prep class, it is their choice what they want to do with that information. But to take that and put kids who you feel aren't ready to be in a more challenging class is doing them a great disservice. Because at the end of the day, I believe it should be their choice. They deserve to be challenged. That is how we grow. That is how we get better. And without the challenge, we won't learn anything. There are very few things that we can accomplish by taking the easy way out or taking dumbed down courses because somebody feels that we should be learning something else and we get no say in it. So I just think that A through G requirements are important, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rocio Sumano, and I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Please correct me. Rocio? After that, and if we can all queue up and be ready, is Herman G. Hernandez. followed by Adrian Juarez.
Sí, voy a tratar. Sí, tengo todos, pues tengo ayuda si necesito.
Buenas tardes.
Good evening.
Muchas gracias por escucharme.
Thank you very much for listening to me.
Y a mí me gustaría apoyar para que todos los estudiantes puedan tener clases AG
She wants to support that all students have AG classes,
para tener la oportunidad de llegar a la universidad.
to have the opportunity to go to university.
Eso es todo.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
All right. Short and sweet. Thank you. Herman G. Hernandez, Adrian Suarez, and then Ana Solano.
Good evening, Madam President, School Board, Superintendent Kitamura, administration, teachers, and community members. My name is Herman G. Hernandez, and I'm the proud board president of the Sonoma County Board of Education, and I'm here tonight to encourage the board to adopt policies supporting A through G coursework for all students. I want to take a moment to recognize your leadership and say thank you because we've seen some amazing progress in our county in education. But we know we can do much better. We're constantly discussing how can we level the playing field? How can we bring equity to the Latino community? How can we better support our underserved families? Today's conversation is not about getting everyone to college. It is about access and giving kids the opportunity to choose their own future. It is about better preparing all students for post-secondary opportunities to overcome barriers. 70% of incoming freshmen at the Santa Rosa Junior College start in one or more remedial courses. This is no bueno for our kids. Our system is backwards. It is not just, it is not equitable, and it simply isn't fair. And we can change this right here, right now. We can no longer allow a system to choose for our kids whether they're smart enough or capable enough to start ahead after high school. If you're sincere about providing a coherent, rigorous, and relevant teaching and learning program to graduate students who are ready for college and career, then we must make these changes. I thank you for bringing this discussion to Santa Rosa. I stand with many other people in this room today and hope that you have the courage to lead our county in the direction of true equity. It is time we increase access for all. We must empower our future leaders by giving them freedom of choice, and we must find ways to erase barriers towards post-secondary opportunities.
Thank you.
We're halfway there. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. Adrian Juarez, followed by Ana Solano, followed by Adelona Garcia.
Primeramente, buenas noches, miembros de la mesa directiva, Presidente Jenny, buenas noches, Superintendente Diana, y a todos los que estamos aquí, buenas noches.
Good evening to everyone's here. Good everyone to the board. Good evening to Mrs. Kitamura, Superintendent.
Mi nombre es Adrián Juárez y represento a la escuela Brook Hill Elementary.
His name is Adrian Juarez. He comes from and representing Brook Hill School.
Tengo un pensamiento que es la educación superior sirve para que los estudiantes entablen nuevas relaciones y vivan nuevas experiencias.
He has a belief that superior education leads to better experiences in life.
En general, abre las puertas para que sean profesionistas,
It opens doors in general so they can be professionals
con salarios más altos
with higher salaries
y menos desempleo en el estado o en el país.
and lower unemployment in the state and the country.
Pero para que esto suceda, es necesario que nuestros estudiantes tomen clases de la A a la G
But for this to happen, our students need to take these AG classes
sin ningún obstáculo.
without any obstacle.
No subestimemos a nuestros estudiantes. No subestimemos a nuestros estudiantes.
Oh, okay, sorry. Do not underestimate our students.
Apoyemos y trabajemos juntos como un solo equipo
We support and we work together as one single team
para que todos nuestros estudiantes que vienen en camino a graduarse, y sí se puede,
so that all of our students who are on the path to graduate, and yes, they can.
Gracias por su atención y esperamos contar con su apoyo.
Thank you for your attention, and we thank you for we can depend on your support.
Thank you. Ana Solano and Adelona Garcia.
Hi, my name is Anna Solano, and I am currently a sophomore at Pioneer High School. In my opinion, I believe that the board should consider having the A through G requirements mandatory. If the A through G requirements were mandatory, every high school student would be on track to attend a four-year college. Personally, I believe that every high school student should attend a four-year college. Hopefully, everyone agrees. Moreover, most of my companions don't know which classes to take, or if it even is a requirement class. Some students choose classes that seem interesting for them. For example, students will be enrolled into their core classes, math, science, English, and history, but then choose an elective that does not meet the standards of the A through G requirements. I hope that you take this in consideration and hope to help our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Hi, my name is Adelina Garcia, and I want to support the A2G too, and I'm really surprised about everything I saw today about, and I really hope you think about, and I'm sure you're gonna do something, because I'm surprised more places close to us have this already, and I'm surprised why us, we don't have it already. And I already saw my oldest boy on JC having really hard time, because he needs to work harder. He needs to do more classes, and he should go straight to the university. And I'm like a mother. I didn't went to the university. I didn't have the information to help him, and I really feel so bad for that. And I hope you understand how bad this is for our children. And right now I had two, and Elsie Allen, and I'm the ILA member. And right now they didn't have the right classes too. And I feel so bad, because like our parents, we don't have the right information, because we didn't go to school, because some doesn't have the ESL or English. And so I really, really want your attention for this. It's really important for our children, our future, and at least if my oldest didn't get it, I hope the next two I have get it, and the other people too. Thank you.
Thank you. Rafael Solano, followed by Ananda Sweet. Rafael, you're up. Then Ananda, and then Martha Solano.
Good evening. My name is Rafael Solano. I'm here to ask all of you to make a change in the district policy. It should be modified to require all high school students to take A through G classes in order to graduate from high school. Why? Most of our children are not prepared to start college. Nearly 60% in the district and 26 of the 2016 graduates were unprepared to take college-level courses. For the Hispanic graduates, nearly 75% were unprepared. And for the English learners, the number was over 96%. This failure to prepare students for their future has a high cost in time to take remedial classes and money to pay for extra classes. Even graduates that take a different path than college, The current district policy leaves them less ready to join the workforce and contribute meaningfully to the community. Clearly, no one action will immediately fix the problem. However, I believe that requiring students to take A through G classes will improve reading, writing, problem solving, and comprehension skills. And this would be a significant first step. The district should seriously consider making this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda Sweet, and then Martha Solano, followed by Jose Martinez.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Marta Solano y soy madre de 2 estudiantes del distrito.
My name is Martha Solano, and I'm mother of 2 students here in the district.
Me gustaría pedirles que se cambiara un requisito de graduación y que fuera un requisito para los estudiantes.
I would like to ask you to change the graduation requirement, and that it be a requirement that all students take AG classes.
Que tomaran las clases de la A a la G en nuestro distrito para poder graduarse de la preparatoria.
That they take AG classes here in this district in order to be able to graduate from the high school.
Hay muchos hispanos que no tienen la oportunidad de asistir a una universidad.
There are many many Latinos who do not have the opportunity to attend a university.
Por no haber tomado estas clases.
For not having taken these classes.
Y porque hay poca información para la existencia de las mismos.
And there's very little information about the existence of these.
Nuestra comunidad hispana es la más afectada.
Our Hispanic community is the most affected.
Por la falta de involucración de los padres en las escuelas.
For the lack of involvement of parents in the schools.
Y por la información y por la poca información que reciben los estudiantes de parte de los consejeros.
And for the little information that the students receive from the counselors.
Todos juntos podemos cambiar el futuro de muchos de nuestros estudiantes.
All of us together, we can change the future of many of our students.
Y ayudarlos a prepararse para un colegio de 4 años.
And help them to prepare for a 4-year college.
Gracias por su atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, Ananda. After Ananda will be Jose Martinez, and then Christina, something with a P. Sorry, Ananda. Go ahead.
And close, and members of the board, thank you so much, first of all, for your dedication to the education of our community's youth. My name is Ananda Sweet. I am the parent of 3 children, 1 college graduate, 1 college student, and 1 current Santa Rosa City Schools middle school student. The 2 older are graduates of Maria Creo High School. We've always encouraged our children to do their best and told them it's okay to have to work at something that doesn't come easily to you. We often had conversations about the value of the habit of effort and that it'll serve you well whatever you do in life. When making class decisions, we encouraged our children to choose classes that both interested and challenged them, and we told them the lessons they would learn from overcoming challenges would be more valuable than an easy A. When my middle child was a sophomore at Creo, she received her class schedule, and she had a non-A through G class. Now, she knew what classes she needed for college, and she immediately went to the office and filled out a schedule change request form. Now, this is fairly common, so sometimes it takes a really long time, and she was into her 2nd week of the semester before she received her appointment. She wasn't driving yet and had an after-school activity, so I was picking her up that day and she said, Mom, I've got this appointment. I may be a bit after the bell rings. So 15 or 20 minutes later, I'm looking at my watch going, what is going on? And I get a phone call from her, and she says, Mom, I really need you to come in here and talk to the counselor with me. So I go into the office, and the counselor, explained to me that it was really too difficult to change her schedule, the 2nd week into the semester, and that we had such a great junior college that was a good option, and that was just, there was really no reason to change her schedule. So I had many issues with this tactic in deciding her scheduling choices, but the biggest of which was really that halfway through her high school career, the counselor was asking us to decide that she was not eligible to apply for a 4-year college at high school graduation. So, and I agree that the JC is a fantastic option, but wasn't willing to limit her choices at that point. So at that point, the counselor did agree and very quickly changed her schedule, said, okay, I agree, I want her to have options, printed out a new schedule, and we walked away. But of course, I walked away from that conversation thinking, what if I hadn't been there to pick her up that day, that she could call me and come in for the conversation? My daughter walking back to the car said, Mom, I said everything you were saying for 20 minutes and she wouldn't listen to me. And what if I didn't know about A through G, or my daughter didn't know about A through G? That could have been a very different scenario. So my hope tonight is that you will come to a decision that the counselor eventually came to, that all of our students with options.
Thank you. Jose Martinez, Cristina Paisios, and then Ana Lugo.
Okay, good evening, members of Santa Rosa City Schools. My name is Jose Martinez. And as a parent, I want my child to go to college. And I've been participating in our ELAC and DLAC meetings, and I hear over and over that our children have been told that not to worry, you are on track to graduate from high school. That's nice, but I want to hear, not worry, you are on track to go to college. Our children deserve the same kind of education as other ethnic groups. As a Latino, I'm worried about the percentage of our children that go to college. How many of our children have a doctor? Altogether, we can bring down all those barriers that stop our children from going to college. Bringing down those barriers, we can have our children prepare for better careers. With your support and changes to this policy, we cannot do a better job and prepare our children for a better future. They deserve a better future and a better education. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina? I already forgot. Paisios. Then Ana Lugo.
Dear school board members, my name is Cristina Palacios. I am a freshman at Montgomery High School. This is the first year in which I have begun to hear about A through G requirements. Speaking with my friends, I realized sadly not all students are put in these classes. Not all students have access to these preparatory courses leading to a four-year university. Lots of students come from families of low income, including myself. Our parents don't have high level of education. We don't have a role model to follow, no one to ask for help. A through G requirements give students the knowledge and skill to go to a four-year college with preparation, which is why I am here today to support and ask for a new policy for all students. With this policy, all students would be given the required classes that will guide them to a four-year college. All of us, the youth and students, have desires, dreams to have a better future. Please don't contribute to destroying our future and our dreams. Thank you.
Thank you. Ana Lugo, and then Naxeli Martinez, and then David Proctor.
Thank you so much, Board of Trustees, for putting this agenda item forward. My name is Ana Lugo. Mi nombre es Ana Lugo. Quiero primero que nada darle las gracias a la comunidad por estar aquí, porque esto es lo que va a hacer la diferencia. First of all, I want to thank the community for being here, because that is truly what is going to make a difference. I am a student of Santa Rosa City Schools. I went to Santa Rosa City Schools from 2001 to 2005. I am sad to tell you that I am not a graduate of Santa Rosa City Schools. I am a graduate of Sonoma Academy High School. And let me tell you why. When I went to LC Allen in 2003, I can tell you with confidence that I'm not the smartest human being on earth, but I can also tell you that I'm a very passionate person who never lets someone else tell them that they can't do something. And with that said, I can tell you that I love my counselor, and unfortunately, she was a gatekeeper for me to go to college. and she didn't have the best advice. And I had to fight the school and the administration so that I could be allowed into academic classes. Let me backtrack a little bit and tell you that last month, I spoke at the State of the County, which is the breakfast for all the top community leaders in Sonoma County. Something that I don't think my counselor at LC Allen ever imagined. And I tell you this because I'm one of many students who could do better, who can achieve better. And it is many times the unconscious biases of adults that keep us from achieving better. And I can tell you that a few years ago, I listened to teachers and counselors from Santa Rosa City Schools talk about those kids who maybe didn't belong in colleges. And I can tell you that they were talking about kids like me. And when I see the data and you show me that only 23-point-something% of Latino students have access to college, my question to you is, does that mean that all those over 60% of students do not belong in college? That's a really big percentage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ana. Naxeli Martinez, then David Proctor.
Buenas tardes a todos. Yo voy a pedirles a todos los padres y madres y alumnos que están aquí que se levanten y enseñen su papel, por favor, a la mesa.
All parents, she's asking all parents who have come here on this issue to please stand.
Que venimos hoy a pedir pólizas para las clases A a la G.
There are people here for the AG classes.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Yo, al igual que todos los padres, madres y estudiantes aquí,
Yo, as much as all the other parents and mothers and fathers and mothers and students who are here,
indica esto nuestra inconformidad de los bajos resultados y porcentajes de los alumnos que cumplen con los requisitos.
indicate our disagreement with these, or my unhappiness with these low results, these low percentages of students who are meeting these requirements, these standards.
No estamos de acuerdo en darles la elección a los estudiantes de tomar estos cursos.
We're not in agreement that we should allow the students to decide whether they're going to choose these AG classes,
sino de ser colocados en ellos.
but rather that they simply be placed in them.
Queremos escuelas con acceso a cursos A a G para todos los estudiantes,
We would like schools with access to AG courses for all students,
con el propósito y la promesa de dar a cada uno la oportunidad y preparación para la universidad.
with the purpose and the promise to give each one of them the opportunity and preparation to go to a four-year university.
Hoy estoy aquí como madre hablando por todos los estudiantes y todos los padres,
Here tonight, I'm here as a mother talking about, with all the students and all the parents, asking
pidiendo y exigiendo nuevas pólizas en estos cursos.
and asking and demanding for new policies with these courses.
Una decisión deficiente puede llevar a la ineficiencia,
A deficient decision can bring you to inefficiency,
pero el buen trabajo y las buenas decisiones mejorarán la calidad general de la educación. Muchas gracias.
but good work and good decisions will improve the overall quality of education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. David Proctor, then Andrew Leonard, then Vic Menendez.
Good evening, President, Superintendent, and other board trustees. I'm David Proctor. My family arrived here in Santa Rosa in the 1860s. That's my great-great-grandfather, mayor, in 1887. I come from a very different background than the majority of speakers. I come from privilege. I went through the Santa Rosa schools in the 1950s and 1960s when California schools were the top in the nation. I currently observe what's occurring throughout the nation as well as the state in a level of despair. The expectations that we create for people directly drive the results. Our failure to embrace A through G minimum requirements simply continues to embed existing socioeconomic and racial partitions between our citizens. Today's greatest challenges are those of divides and rather than commonalities. Last night, I observed a interview with former President Jimmy Carter, and he spoke about the loss of faith as being one of the greatest national issues. That is the loss of faith in our institutions, in our education, in fairness and justice. A through G and providing consistent access for all people from all backgrounds is a minimum to beginning the restoration of that faith. Thank you.
Andrew Leonard, then Nick Menendez, then Sal Barrera.
Good evening, President Close, City City School Board members, and Superintendent. All right, here we go. Thank you. Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, and school board directors. My name is Andrew Leonard. I'm the Vice President of the Sonoma County Board of Education, and I think you know why I'm here tonight. It's to support A to G requirements in all of our schools. To me, equity remains removing barriers and increasing the power of choice by improving standards and increasing the potential of every single student. This school board and this district and the rest of the county have been fantastic in career technical education in these last few years, and not for the first time, I thank you for that. We need to do more for our students. Most students in our county are going to go to schools in California after high school, in college, probably UCs, CSU schools. And there's great news for these students. These are world-class universities, and they deserve to go to these schools. But these schools are not without the requirements. These A to G classes need to be taken to get in. Barely 2 in 10 Latino students meet the requirements to get into these schools, 20%. That is not enough. This leaves them ineligible to get in. By giving the students a passive choice not to take these classes, we deprive them of the ability to make an active choice about their education. We see the results of this in places like San Diego and Napa, where A to G requirement fulfillment is up toward 50%. If you do institute mandatory A to G requirements, other districts will likely follow suit. As the largest school district in this county, you can be a leader and bring them all up and live up to your motto, excellence is our common ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Menendez, then Sal Barrera.
President Close, good evening. Superintendent, Madam, members of the board. First of all, let me thank all of you for your public service. You look around and you're reminded of the hours that are involved in devoting to trying to make this place a better place, so I applaud your efforts on that behalf. I represent this evening the Sonoma County Alliance. I was glad to see the LCL in statistics. Being an original foundation member, it brought me great joy to see the advancements and improvements they're making. We're urging, Sonoma County Alliance is urging the board create the A through G policy, and Herman said it very, very well. It's about access. You know, college may not be for everybody, but everybody should have the opportunity to make that determination for themselves and not be stonewalled by an administrator or lack of curriculum. You know, putting our children in a position to win in life is what it's all about. Nothing's better. We all want our children to succeed. You know, my grandchild came home the other day. She attends the French American school, and she was counting to 100 in French. Just blew my mind. So we get them early. We invest in our children. Make everybody, make it a better world in total. So thank you so much, and please embrace the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Sal Barrera, then Dino Battaglini.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Kitamura, staff, students, parents.
My name is Sal Barrera. I'm sole counselor for Santa Rosa City Schools. I'm here asking you that you approve alignment of A through G courses to high school graduation requirements. I believe this will allow our students to have an opportunity for equal access, as their future could not be predetermined by others. Former State Superintendent Jack O'Connell, in his 2004 State of Education address, proposed requiring every student in California public schools to complete A through G coursework in order to receive a diploma. He stated, "This does not assume that all students are bound for college. Instead, it acknowledges that today, all of our students need the skills and knowledge contained in the curriculum that once was reserved only for the college-bound." Prior to working for Santa Rosa City Schools, I worked for San Jose Unified School District, which currently has A through G course requirements for graduation. The district is ranked number 2 in the nation for urban school districts in high school graduation rates, and the dropout rate is among the lowest in the country. In 1998, after San Jose Unified made A through G coursework the default graduation requirements, at least a dozen other districts followed. They include some of California's largest, including Los Angeles Unified, San Diego Unified, Santa Ana Unified, San Francisco Unified, Oakland Unified, East Side Union, Palo Alto Unified, Sonoma Valley Unified, Carlsbad Unified, Sweetwater Union, Morgan Hill Unified, and Vallejo City Unified. We are not at the beginning of change. We are at the beginning of allowing Santa Rosa City Schools to give an adequate A through G opportunity for all our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Dino? Then Ariana Diaz de Leon.
Good evening, Santa Rosa City School Board, Superintendent Kitamura. My name is Dino Battellini. I'm a sole counselor here with Santa Rosa City Schools, as well as a business owner in Santa Rosa. As well, I was a principal at Sonoma Valley High School that introduced and got approved the A to G requirements for Sonoma Valley Unified School District. I applaud you for this issue that you're addressing this evening, and I know it's not an easy one, and I really hope that you really consider approving it. Oftentimes, the belief of changing the graduation requirements to mirror the A to G minimum application requirements is interpreted by many that all students are going to go to college or a four-year university. I'm asking that the public and the board and all individuals involved to look at this a little bit differently. This change is not about all students going to a four-year university. This change is about access and opportunity for all students to have a high level of education and be prepared when they graduate with minimal need of remediation. It is about leveling the playing field amongst all students across all demographics. It's about closing the achievement gap. And most importantly, we say it over and over again, it's allowing students and families to have those choices to move forward and be successful without others making those choices for them. Our students need to be prepared when they leave high school for whatever avenue they choose. If it's a four-year university, if it's a two-year university, if it's the workforce, it's the military, they need to be prepared. And currently the data is showing, you've seen it, we are not preparing all of our students nationwide, especially here within our local community. I ask everyone in this room, are we creating obstacles for our students to jump through? Or is it our duty as educators, as a community, to remove obstacles for our youth to be able to succeed, and we provide that support for those students? Hopefully, we will approve the A to G requirements for the Santa Rosa City School students. I ask you to please really consider as we move forward in providing these opportunities and access for all students by removing these obstacles. Thank you.
Thank you. Ariana, then Maria Jorge, followed by Herman J. Hernandez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ariana Diaz de Leon, and I am here to read a letter on behalf of Esther Limas. Dear Santa Rosa School Board members, I am writing to express my strong support for Santa Rosa City Schools' passage and implementation of an A through G policy for all students. I am a former student, graduate, and a proud product of Santa Rosa City Schools. As a first-generation college student and granddaughter of field workers, I overcame many odds when I was accepted to and graduated from UC Berkeley, eventually going on to become the first in my family to attend and graduate from law school. Today, I am proud to share that I work as a Deputy District Attorney for the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office and sit as a school board trustee for the Windsor Unified School District. None of what I have accomplished to date would have been possible had an older sibling not had a caring counselor who strongly guided her and urged her to enroll in A through G courses as she recognized the great potential in my sister. Unfortunately, I also had many peers and friends who were steered in the opposite direction towards non-A through G coursework. I am all too aware that this informal practice of tracking students into a non-college track continues to this day in many districts throughout Sonoma County, including SRCS. Implementing a district-wide A through G policy for all students will allow them to have many options come graduation and will take away the discretion in choosing who to place on the college versus non-college track. While not every student will go on to attend and graduate college, many more students will now have this door open to them should they choose the college route. I am a firm believer that if you set high standards for your students and truly believe in them, they will often prove you right. Thank you for your consideration of my letter in support of an A through G policy for all students at Santa Rosa City Schools. Sincerely, Esther Limas. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Jorge, followed by Herman J. Hernandez, followed by Mariana Martinez. Why don't you go ahead, Herman J.
Good evening, board members. I'm here this evening to just really support the moving forward and encourage the board members for A through G for all students. I'm a past student. I didn't have that opportunity, but I didn't grow up in this community. After learning about A through G in the last 2 years and going back to my report cards, I started looking at the classes that I was put in and not being able to have the opportunity or make the choice of my future and get the support. But I found it. I had the opportunity. I've had many individuals give me a hand. So I'm here for the generation that follows, for the Latino community, for those students of color, to be able to have the opportunity I didn't have. And yes, I was a student a few years ago, and I'm here encouraging the board and thanking all the families. I wish my parents would have been sitting in the audience to be able to contribute and make the statements that so many of these parents have made, but they weren't. So here we are tonight with that opportunity. So thank you so very much for taking on this topic. I've learned a lot tonight. I learned so much that I'm inspired, passionate to assist in any way to move this tsunami through Sonoma County. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we find Maria Jorge? No? Okay, Mariana Martinez. Dr. Mariana Martinez?
Yes. Hi. Good evening, Madam President, school board members, and Superintendent. This evening, I want to share a few things. One of them, I am a product of the Santa Rosa City Schools. I'm a product of Elsie Allen. I have parents whose grade education doesn't go beyond 6th grade. Immigrants, and myself being an immigrant, undocumented till I was the age of 16. And today I hold a PhD. I'm one of very limited people to do that. While I was in high school, I actually took all A through G courses. I had to It was not a choice, but I had the support. I'm also a product of the Upper Bound programs, which was the reason why I took A through G. But in all of those courses, I was the only one. I was the only Latina, and that continued on onto college, graduate school, doctoral program, and even today. And so for me, it is very critical that our students, all of them have a choice, but that they understand why they're taking the A through G courses. That is not just to get through high school, to get through this. The A through G courses are preparing us for the current state that we're in, the current state of employment, the current state of just college requirements. It goes beyond just, again, to graduate high school. It is very critical. And even as an educator for almost 20 years, I know I look very young, but it's true. I have worked with so many students and so many parents who it isn't the lack that they don't care, is the lack of information that is provided to them and the guidance that needs to be given to them. A through G will change drastically the lives. I have worked with a lot of also Upper Bound students who, if it wasn't for our advice, if it wasn't for us coming into almost their homes and telling their parents they have to take these courses, they wouldn't do it. They are difficult courses, but again, it was this additional support that we had that was able to get us through them. So it isn't impossible for us to make those changes. It isn't impossible for us to, actually, it shouldn't be impossible for us to have high expectations of all of our students, especially of our students whose parents, because of whatever reason, were limited on getting an education. So consider this and push it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Annie Scully, and then Arielha Escutia, followed by Socorro Rojas. Is Annie here? Annie Scully, I saw her. There she is. Sorry, Annie.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Excuse me. Thank you so much. Under the umbrella of equity, I'd like to talk about making a connection, highlight the connection between security and success. I wanted to be here a couple weeks ago when you adopted a policy about security and about fences, cameras, and Columbine locks. And cameras and Columbine locks make a lot of sense, but fences, I question. I'll tell a quick story. A few years ago at LC, graduation, you have to go through a ticketed entry onto the football field, and somehow a fellow managed to do all that, and there's easily a couple thousand people there. And at one point on the north end of the field, he drops his drawers, takes off his shirt, and streaks across, makes it over the fence and onto a car. And all of us, because of the moment of surprise, we didn't react. And luckily, it's not a harmful thing that happened, but it's to illustrate, do fences really work? I would like to suggest that our greatest security lies in our families, that we don't really do everything we can to train families. And in this regard, I'd like to thank you for adopting the Juntos program, because 28 of my newcomers and their parents are going to get 6 weeks of training. And I'm certain that if, parents risk going across borders to bring their kids for better education, if we found a way to educate parents about the roadmap to college, our A to G would obviously, it would increase. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Arielha Escutia. Sorry, I'm getting that totally wrong.
It's okay. Good evening, Santa Rosa City School District. I'm currently a junior at Pioneer High School. My name is Erica Escutia. And I just wanted to say, through the GAG requirements, I think they should pass because it gives the opportunity for students to go to a four-year university or a community college or whatever they decide on after high school. And it'd just be an amazing thing for students to do. And for when coming into like freshman year, you don't know what you want, you don't know what classes to choose, but having this, they would have the opportunity to go to college and have a better life. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Socorro Rojas, followed by Morgan Marchbanks.
Can you hear me? Right here.
I got used to looking up there. I didn't even see her here.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Kitamura.
My name is Socorro Rojas. I am a counselor for Santa Rosa City Schools, but I'm also a parent to 3 students in the district. My current position focuses on supporting English learners, and it's apparent that we have a lot of work to do in order to offer equitable offerings to all students, regardless of what school they attend. There are long-term consequences with tracking students based on assumptions. Assumptions such as how some have publicly made, stating that parents who are pro A through G are ill-informed. We can't assume that all students have the maturity or capacity to know whether they want to attend a university while they are 8th graders. Some of our own teachers are unaware of what A through G classes are, and we expect our parents to know where to place their students. Parents and students trust us. They trust us to have their best interests in mind. If we really want to close the achievement gap, we need to be courageous and make bold changes. We also need supports for our teachers who will be implementing these changes. We are not doing a good job of graduating college and career-ready students. We need educated and prepared high school graduates, regardless of whether they choose to go to a university, college, tech school, military, or straight to the workforce. We all need to work together and create solutions. We have a problem, and we need to do something now. This is not in support of one group versus another. This is for the greater good of our community. What students need are choices, and we should not place limits on them. I left a successful corporate job to become a school counselor because I truly believe that students need more role models and they need adults who believe in them. I applaud Santa Rosa City Schools for creating the sole counselor positions, but at the same time, it saddens me that these positions have to exist. Let's err on the side of the students and not decide for them what their paths should be. I urge you to start believing in all of our students, even when they don't believe in themselves yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Morgan Marchbanks. Socorro, were you going to make this statement?
Yes.
Come on back. And then after that's Omar Medina, and then Kelly Estrada.
Morgan Marchbanks is a teacher at Pioneer High School, and she is ill, cannot make it, and sent me a message that she wanted me to read. She wanted to request the opportunity to address the board on a critical issue of race expectations and increased access to college and college prep classes. As a dropout of Pioneer High School and current PhD teacher who has championed this cause as a high school principal and assistant superintendent in Redwood City. She says she turned around a high poverty large Latino high school while being the only district school to maintain geometry as a graduation requirement. Graduation and college going was on par with district's wealthy schools. She's currently an ELD teacher at Pioneer High School, and she champions all the efforts to support A through G.
Thank you. Omar Medina, then Kelly Estrada, then Art Horner.
None of this data is new. This month marks 50 years since high school students in East Los Angeles walked out of their classrooms in what would become known as the East LA blowouts. The walkouts were led by Chicano students who walked out in protest of the conditions they faced. The lack of teachers of color, the lack of representation of their story and curriculum, and tracking, all of which persist here today. I first learned of all of this in my early years in college. This was not in the history that I learned in high school here in our district, but as I learned of these conditions 50 years ago, I began to analyze and compare them with my experience and that which I saw around me. When I first ran for school board in 2004, my driving motivation was this injustice of tracking. Here we are 14 years since that run, and this tracking still exists. Ensuring that the baseline for graduation from high school can get you into a 4-year college should be a given, or as Mike Varela put it, a no-brainer. Instead, we've had a system where at some point someone decides you, student A, are on track towards meeting those A through G requirements, while student B, well, I don't think you've got what it takes, so let's lower expectations of you and give you easier classes, but ones that can help our graduation statistics look good. I feel the need to channel Emma Gonzalez in saying, we call BS. While Emma's activism revolves around gun violence, I argue that institutional racist policies like the implementation of the existing graduation requirements of Santa Rosa City Schools can be just as deadly. They might not directly kill students, but they kill dreams and can condemn students to a life of feeling inferior. My baby brother, who we lost this past December, he was one of these students that was tracked into the non-college route. You send a message to students with displacement. They're not blind to what the message is. There's the smart classes and the dumb classes. One of the things that would always kill me was every time my brother would refer to himself as dumb, especially because I knew how bright he was in so many ways, often smarter than me. But this message of being dumb was one that he took to heart, and a major part of that stemmed from his high school experience. From the beginning, the district, told him he did not have what it takes. Some people say, well, not every student is meant to go to college. Whether that is the case, who are you to deny them the opportunity to even get on that track? You are guilty of allowing this to continue. I'm guilty. We are all guilty because all of us as a community have allowed it to go on year after year. But now, in this moment, it is you that have the power to make the change that will impact the generations to come and put an end to this unjust institutional racist policy, as the data clearly reflects. Will it be easy? No. Will it require increased support services? Yes. Will some fail? Yes. But they will have a choice. I pray you do what's right, end this injustice. Make A through G, along with ethnic studies, the standard for graduation. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Kelly Estrada, then Art Horner, then Lisa Carreño, and if we can try to keep it to 2 minutes, I appreciate it. There's lots of people here and lots of little kids.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to speak. My name is Dr. Kelly Estrada, and I am professor and chair of the Curriculum Studies and Secondary Education Department at Sonoma State University. Our department prepares the single subject or secondary teachers, many of whom go on to teach here in the Santa Rosa City School District. At 23 years of age, I was a single parent with 2 children on government assistance. But through the community college and UC system, I was able to achieve the academic and professional accomplishments I now possess because I was the recipient of an academically rigorous curriculum similar to the A through G curriculum our high school students now experience in our public schools. I'm here tonight to passionately advocate for an A through G curriculum for all students, especially those from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. Our system of government is dependent upon an informed, engaged, and knowledgeable citizenry. As was demonstrated on the world stage on March 24, 2018, high school students in our public schools are capable of leading the country and the world in the exercise of informed and critical public debate on the issues that threaten to undermine the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by citizens of our country. They demonstrated the powerful effect that a rigorous and complex public school curriculum has on preparing future adults for college, career, and active citizenship. The Common Core state standards-based A through G curriculum provides this education and should be accessible to all high school students, especially those who have been historically underrepresented in our country, in the workplace, and in our government institutions. In addition to access, it is imperative that we work to support the academic achievement of all students, especially those from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, as their achievements become our achievements as a country and a democratic society. Thank you.
Thank you. Art Horner, then Lisa Carreño.
Thank you. My name is Art Horner. I'm a history teacher and department chair at Santa Rosa High School.
You've been hearing the macro view, and I wanted to give a micro view. I want to thank the school district and SRTA for organizing the professional development day that we did a couple of weeks ago. And what we did at ours was we culminated a 3-year project in our department to define both horizontal and vertical education for our students. We teach at grades 10 through 12 and levels from sheltered through California standards to AP and honors. We don't choose which students are in our class. Students and families pick those. In fact, we have a new program, Illuminate Ed, that doesn't allow teachers to give recommendations, so we don't choose our students. We spent 3 years trying to come up with this, and that's what I've given you tonight. We think all students have to meet California requirements. Those students that should take P-level courses. Even though 50% of our students come from poverty, over 70% of our students take P-rated history courses, many in AP. The biggest difference in the UC and P requirements are the writing requirements. UC requires a large 10-page paper. It's the law. Students in schools that are teaching courses that they call P that don't do the 10-page paper are not meeting the P requirements, and I wouldn't want us to get audited on that. With California requirements in our, what we call regular classes, almost all the work is done in class. We provide a lot of supports. It's about the 3rd or 4th page in. We have a chart there at the high school graduation requirements. And there are things like graphic organizers, closed paragraphs, sentence starters, paragraph outlines. We provide all this support for our students, which is outstanding. And we get them to write well. The P-level students, in order to write that big paper, we need them to write a lot of other papers. Because of that, there's a fair amount of homework. Teachers are available for assistance before and after class time. We encourage P, but we notice that there are reasons to be in the regular classes. Some students have already made up their mind. They want to be nurses, police, fire, go to the JC. There's emotional needs. Our recent fire victims who have heavy psychological problems and are going through some PTSD, it's been a good option for us to be able to send them to a class where they get the support they need. Last thing, I'll get out of your way here. I read the San Jose report. They provide alternative ed on every campus, but we just closed ours. If we're going to do A through G, we need those alternative schools. Their EL and special eds get exemptions from taking the P-level courses. Rather than that, what we're doing at our school is we're offering comprehensive ed to all by offering the classes suited to those students. So please look at all this information at the micro level as well as the macro that we're hearing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa Carreño, and then Kathy Vianello, and then Peter Rumble.
Thank you, President Close, and I want to thank you for all the translation you've done tonight. You've been amazing for the last few hours. I'm Lisa Carreño. I'm the Regional Director for 10,000 Degrees in Sonoma County. 10,000 Degrees has helped thousands of students from low-income backgrounds to go to college, stay in college, and graduate from college. We are delighted to be partners with Santa Rosa City Schools in this dialogue, in this conversation, and in what we hope will be the implementation of A to G for all. I most appreciated some of the early remarks of parents and also of the district's cabinet, highlighting the importance of access to resources, advocacy, and the development of agency skills among parents and students, and the internal advocacy that happens when district staff step in, recognizing the brilliance of the students who attend your schools. I think that we need to be expansive in our thinking and how we implement to provide equity and access to all students. The system needs to believe in the students, and the system needs to believe in their parents and their parents' capacity as well. So I feel like investing in the students and investing in their parents are both paramount. On a personal note, I know it will probably surprise at least a couple of you to know that I was not the best and the brightest student when I was young. But that intervention team in my school stepped up for me, set much higher expectations for me, and I'm here tonight because of it. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Kathy? Then Peter Rumble.
Good evening.
Then Dwayne DeWitt.
Sorry. Thank you. I'm here as a parent to a son who graduated from Santa Rosa City Schools and also as a teacher and then a counselor for 30 years at Ridgeway High School. All of our kids should be inspired and encouraged and believed in to go to college or follow their dreams. So I'm so pleased that we are looking at offering A through G requirements to all students. I hope we will also have a chance to work with and look closely at the schools where this is working and provide training for teachers so they can offer differentiated curriculum and lessons with different learning modalities, because that's so important for our struggling students. I want to speak about what is not working with the reg classes. My son was in those classes, and I volunteered in there over the years while he was in high school. I saw some very amazing and passionate teachers in the reg classes, but I also saw some troubling aspects. My son is biracial, and the majority of his classes were kids of color. I'd walk into a classroom, there'd be maybe 30 kids, maybe 4 or 5 white kids, and the rest were kids of color. So that just surprised me. I see that at Ridgeway, but I also was surprised to see that in the reg classes. I also heard comments from teachers. These kids aren't really going anywhere. These are quotes that I heard. Oh, they're just the reg kids. And then when I offered to volunteer to do, because I'm a biology teacher also, to do microscope labs with the kids and help the teacher, I was told, we don't do those with these kids. They can't handle microscope labs. I told my husband, he said, you mean you can do 25 kids, give them microscope labs at Ridgeway for weeks, but they can't do that at the traditional high school. And that's what I was told. So that was really troubling to me. And both my husband and I are biology majors. My son hated science. And that was really sad because all he did was bookwork. The same thing every week, reading the book, answering the questions, and it was really disappointing because biology should be one of the most exciting in my opinion. There was a social aspect too that I never realized, and that was that he was never gonna really have conversations with kids in his classes about going to college, kids who are aspiring to be a doctor or even going to college or talking about careers. And then the last thing is, I had a very easy time in high school. I was an academic student. I've never seen anyone work so hard as my son. We need the best teachers to work with those struggling kids. I could have learned from any teacher. It didn't matter if they were good or not good, but we need the best teachers that really inspire kids to work with these struggling students for them to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Rumble, followed by Dwayne DeWitt, then Will Lyon.
Good evening, Board. Peter Rumble, CEO of the Metro Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to provide a couple comments, one from a professional level, one from a personal level. I'm also a father of 2 kids in the Santa Rosa City school system, and happy to be so. I'll say as 2 asides before I get into my comments. One is I frankly have been around sort of these types of chambers for a long time. I've never seen this level of support for something, so I hope that's indicative of your future course of action. The second is, as a poor kid from a broken home, I would not be the CEO of the Santa Rosa Metro Chamber today had it not been for a mother who demanded a college application the night before it was due. I'll say that I don't have signs or evocative stories to tell you. What I do have is 1,000 employers who are standing before you tonight saying that A through G is a must for this community. As the leading organization representing employers, we know for a fact that kids graduating A through G are more prepared to enter the workforce with the choice of what to do, either go to college or enter the workforce. Choice being the operative word and the necessary word. Employers want this. And employers want a better education system, frankly. Education is an economic issue, and you will see the Chamber be more proactive on this going forward. The school system is not alone. The Chamber is willing to devote resources, primarily in human capital, to support your teachers in implementing any kind of policy change. We stand ready for you on that. On a personal level, with 2 kids in the Santa Rosa City school system, I frankly do not want my kids in this school system if the board is okay with what is essentially institutional racism. I don't want my kids experiencing a system that is okay with children of color being set on the side, having decisions made for them. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Dwayne DeWitt, then Will Lyon.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm not a privileged person. I'm a poor person that was raised in Roseland. And I wanted to ask you to approve the AG options and hire more good counselors, especially focus on math. I got math anxiety. Twice the amount of students at Montgomery High School and Murillo Carrillo, according to your numbers earlier, are in math than at Elsie Allen, which is the high school built near where I'm from. Think geometry. I know that's something a lot of folks don't need to think about, but they actually do, and they need to think about math. You could start helping kids in middle school and keep on it until graduation from high school. Counselors are key, and the classes to help those with math anxiety, to help the kids understand money and careers they like, and being good citizens, active in our participatory republic. Democracy requires, and it only works if our people understand the system of voting and allocation of our taxes. That's the big one, the money. To help our kids and their futures, every kid needs to understand math well. This will make California and the USA better by you making Santa Rosa perhaps the best school district in the whole nation. That could be wonderful. 50 years ago, I was at Cook Junior High, and I was tracked away from the idea of college. I was homeless my last year in high school. I worked full-time to rent a space in a garage, and I graduated from the high school with a nothing degree. Just a complimentary pass, get out of here, kid. And then I went on to the Army. And in the Army, I've met some people that said, hey, you could go to college, and the only way you can get to college is to survive. So the way to survive is to know the numbers, to do the math, to understand how to move forward as a productive citizen. I ask you to help every kid in this room go to college if they want, but if not, help them to get a job. Help them to be a craftsperson or an artist or whatever they would like to do. My apologies for becoming sentimental.
Okay. Thank you, Dwayne. Will Lyon, then Elicio Rivas, then Magdalena, something that starts with an M.
Good evening again. I'm Will Lyon. I'm speaking as an English teacher from Santa Rosa High School. Santa Rosa High School is the last comprehensive high school that has maintained a full array of regular classes. I really thank all the parents that came out and the students and the community members who are fighting for their students to have access to the curriculum. It breaks my heart to think that you could wrestle with a counselor or an administrator and they're refusing to let you into classes that are college prep classes. I think that's horrible. I don't think that that's what's happening at Santa Rosa High School. When I hear the phrase access to the curriculum, and changing graduation requirements to be A through G requirements, what I'm hearing, and this is from a Santa Rosa High lens, is what you're really doing is taking away non-academic classes, and you're eliminating a choice that about 20% of our students pick. and their parents pick. And if it's not that way, it should be. If a parent wants the kid in an academic class, shouldn't have to wrestle about it. But I am concerned about the rigor level differences between what we call reg English and academic English. They're significant. I'm worried about the kids who don't have the skill set or the motivation or the home life to meet those standards and what the teacher will do with that. Do we lower the standards so that more kids can meet it? Do we raise the standards or leave the standards where they're at so that the students can actually graduate college ready? If you leave with a diploma that has all the check marks for college ready, and then you get to college and you're not ready, we have done you a disservice there. So I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the teachers who are working really hard for all of our students. And I'm worried about, sort of innuendo accusation that you're not a good teacher, or if you knew how to differentiate, then we wouldn't have a problem. I have other concerns. I think we're having the right conversation. I hope we'll approach this gently with nuance in ways that serve all of our students. Thank you.
Felicio Rivas, and then Magdalena.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Eliseo Rivas, and I'm going to talk first about my personal story, then my professional perspective, and I'll finish off with a little bit something that I've learned about Santa Rosa City Schools. And so I come from the perspective of coming and being raised in San Diego. My family originates from Zacatecas, Mexico. And when I began in high school, my sister told me, Eliseo, you have to watch out because other people will not advocate for you and you have to advocate for yourself. A couple of years prior, my mom had stormed into the counselor's office and my sister was deemed not worth of being in AP classes or advanced placement because she was not smart enough. My mom stormed through those doors and she advocated for my sister to be taking the courses so that she can go to college. We both went to AVID classes, we both did summer school, we both took classes afterwards, and we both did all the extracurricular activities to be able to go to college. And I'm lucky, I'm able to go to college. And so what this reminds me of, like, I had a tremendous amount of luck. I worked really hard, and there was already a system in place that was set up for me to succeed. I didn't have to think about taking A through G requirements because those existed already. And within the context of my family, only a few of us are able to make it to college, but San Diego set it up so that we could actually make it and succeed. I think about all the young people who don't have an advocate for them there. I think about people who don't have the social capital to continue. And I think about the systems that exist in place to continue to forget about and ignore the students who are historically excluded. This board in front of me has the opportunity to change that. And these are all the people who are here to support you in that decision. And maybe there is hesitation about the rigor or the standards, or what are we gonna do if they're not set up to go to college, even with all the A through G courses. But to that, if we don't give every student a possibility, then we are not doing them justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Magdalena. Sorry, will you tell me your last name? I can't read it.
Maquila.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Magdalena Maquila, and I'm here as a parent because I am actually an attorney, and this is the first time that I knew that I could even ask for my daughter's classes to be changed. I grew up in Santa Rosa, and I attended Shepherd Elementary and Cook Junior High and Elsie Allen, and we knew we were being tracked, and I understand why Dwayne got sentimental because it hurts. And it's something you carry with you for the rest of your life. I was able to take geometry as a 9th grader when I went to San Francisco to live with my father. And when I came back to Santa Rosa City Schools, I was forced to take Math 2, which was geometry. And so I tutored my classmates and spent a year basically wasted. I have had the impression ever since that you're not able to ask for a different class for your child.
I didn't know that there were A through G requirements, and I'm sad because I graduated #1 in my law class. I am not dumb, but I do not understand the system, and I'm not the only one. If I, as a very privileged person who has an education, cannot wrangle this system, then of course kids are being left out. The downward pressure of people not going to college, I am the only one of my close friends from growing up in my neighborhood who actually graduated from college. And I graduated when my daughter was a toddler. And I went to law school as a single mother when she was 8 years old because I wanted something different. And let me tell you, as the first time in my life having a living wage, the difference that an education and a professional degree makes in your life is not to be discounted. This is really necessary. We need to give this option to our families because if you don't know you have to opt in, you won't do it. So please do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Nellie Damon, I think. No, and then Karen Demarest, and then Carlos Ayala.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good evening, everyone.
Para mí es, bueno, me presento, había preparado algo para decirlo, pero
She had prepared a little something to tell you, but
prefiero decir mis palabras.
she would rather use her own words.
Esperé tanto por estar frente a ustedes.
She's waiting so long here to be in front of you.
Soy la madre de un joven
She's a child of a young person.
que va a tener,
Sorry.
va a tener, el joven no tuvo la oportunidad de ir a universidad por no tener las clases de la A a la G.
This young person was not able to have the opportunity to go to school for the lack of taking AG courses.
Y creo que no es justo para los jóvenes pasar por esto.
She doesn't believe that for the youth, for young people, that it's just that it be this way.
También quiero que sepan que participo para las juntas del distrito representando a Montgomery High School.
She also would like you to know that she participates in the district meetings as a representative of Montgomery High School.
En estas juntas alguien dijo que soy la voz de los jóvenes.
In some of these meetings, oh, okay, she in particular is the voice of the youth,
Y quiero serlo esta noche.
and she wants to be that tonight also.
Creo que no estamos para pedir, sino para confiar en su trabajo de ustedes.
It's not here so much to ask as much as to have faith in your work.
Y creo que todos hablándolo sin poner tanto rodeo, es necesario que estas clases se incrementen para todos.
Without beating around the bush too much, it's just easy. It's enough to say that these classes need to be increased for everyone.
Porque no es justo que en las escuelas los maestros separen a los jóvenes porque sí puede y porque no puede.
And it's not fair that in the schools that the teachers are separating the groups into those who can and those who cannot.
Todos pueden.
Everyone can.
Principalmente a ustedes he escuchado en esta junta y en otras juntas decir que la universidad no es para todos.
I've heard, in other meetings and here that some people say that the university is not for everybody.
A mi hijo se lo dijo un maestro a los 15 años
A teacher told this to my son when he was 15
y lo amenazó con reprobar en esta escuela.
and threatened to make him repeat the year in the school.
Mi hijo ya no quería ir a la escuela.
And my son no longer wants to go to school.
Y yo como madre les puedo decir que un maestro no va a venir.
And
Él no va a venir a cambiar el trabajo que yo hice en 15 años.
And one single teacher is not going to change the work that I did in the last 15 years.
Porque mi hijo va a ir a colegio.
My son's going to college.
Estamos seguros que él va a pasar a universidad.
We're sure he's going to go to the university.
Y porque quiero ser la voz de todos los jóvenes que han pasado por este caso.
And she wants to be the voice of all the young people that this has happened to.
Por eso yo les invito
For this reason, I invite you
que jamás les digamos
that we never say
que la universidad no es para todos.
that university is not for everyone. We should never say that the university is not for all.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Demarest, Carlos Ayala. And someone that snuck one in.
Thank you, Superintendent and trustees. I appreciate your attention through all of these really heartfelt presentations. I'm here as a very proud owner, I guess you could say, of a Master's of Arts in Teaching, and I have a credential, and I want to start by acknowledging the teachers, the administrators, the classified staff, and all of you. You do not have an easy job, and change is difficult. But this is a time to be bold. I've been thinking tonight about a video I've seen many times recently that teaches us what privilege looks like. I don't know if you've seen it. Young people are all lined up together, and then a moderator asks them to step forward if they've never been gone hungry for a night, if they've never watched someone cross the street to avoid them. And as this goes on, you see the separation. And at the end of this exercise, you see what privilege looks like. And it is along the lines of race. What happens with privilege is that some people do not get to realize their greatest potential, not because they don't have that potential, but because of systems that are placed upon them that prevent them from realizing their potential. If you do not pass A through G, you are placing that upon them, that they are not allowed and they are not given the opportunity to realize their fullest potential. I trust that you will pass this. I trust that you will pass A through G. But if you make the decision not to, I implore you to look inside of yourselves and be absolutely certain that that decision is not coming from your own privilege. Because if it is, you are truly part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Carlos Ayala, and then Yolanda Delgado, and then we're cutting it off there.
Hello, can you hear me? Great. My name is Carlos Cuauhtemoc Ayala. I am the Dean of the School of Education at Sonoma State University. Esteemed directors and superintendent. Several years ago, you conducted a strategic plan. There you championed that all students should be college and career ready. Today, you have the opportunity to take a significant step towards meeting that goal, giving all our sons and daughters equitable access to an A through G curriculum. As you know, you hold in your hands the ability to unleash the transformative power of education. By transformation, I mean giving our sons and daughters greater economic viability, greater civic engagement, global awareness, and appreciation of humanity's knowledge and diversity and culture, and healthier and happier lives. We know that this transformation comes when our children complete high school and increase when they engage in post-secondary options. We also know that for our underrepresented sons and daughters, the benefits are immense. And these transformations not only affect them, but they affect our families and our community. We also know that it is more difficult for our underrepresented sons and daughters to reap these transformations because oftentimes we place obstacles in their way. We also know that when our underrepresented sons and daughters are confounded by these obstacles, the likelihood of transformation drops. This is a contributing factor to their underrepresentedness. So today, I urge you to consider James. James is an underrepresented son of our community, entering our high school in the fall of 2018, and being assigned courses that will lower his success, regular courses. Unfortunately, upon graduation in 2022, he discovers that although he succeeded, he's not college ready, and his path to a post-secondary degree is layered with more hoops and jumps. So today, I ask you to consider James, and I ask you to take big, bold, brave action, and that you ask for a plan to be brought forth to you in 4 weeks to have all ninth graders, incoming ninth graders, given equitable access to a default A through G curriculum, and then you move towards a complete district transformation in 2 years. James will be a ninth grader only once. He starts this August. Provide equal outcomes to our son through equitable programming. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ayala. Yolanda Delgado.
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Delgado. I am an English teacher, an ESL teacher for adults at the JC, the Blind Leading the Blind. I came to the United States as an adult, and I completed my education here. Currently, as I said, I work as an ESL teacher, and I want to comment a little bit about what I heard from a teacher talking about expectations and talking on the other side of the teacher, where you sometimes feel that I understand that the teachers may feel that they have these students who are ill-prepared and that may not be able to go to be successful in A through G classes. However, I think that we need to raise our expectations. As a teacher myself, I tried to do that on 2 or 3 occasions. I've had students come into my classroom who are 15, 16-year-olds, and I have taken them personally back to Elsie Allen, one of them, the other one to Montgomery. You know, they came from Mexico. They entered the high school in 9th grade, and yet they were able to complete their education. Why? Because they were given the opportunity. They came with no English, and yet they were able to complete their education. Some of them are now managers in different stores. I don't mean just one store, but the chain. I also just briefly want to tell you that, yes, you need to give equal access to all people by establishing the A through G. I'm going to be brief. When I was a student and I was working as a paraeducator at Slater, I was really dismayed to see that some students who were born in the United States were in the 7th or 8th grade is still English learners. I think it's true. More needs to be done. Right now, you have the decision about AG, but also more needs to be done at the other levels because sí se puede. People can do it. Our students are able to do it. They are working bilingual, and they're, they have that gift, Spanish and English or, whatever other language they have. Please give them the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of our comments, and thank you, everybody, for your thoughtful comments. So what's going to happen next is that this is just a discussion item. The board will have a discussion, have opportunity to ask staff questions, but with the goal that at the end of this discussion that we will give staff direction, some kind of direction on this issue. So before, though, I ask the board for questions and comments, I'm going to add one more number to this discussion. And that is that on average, we graduate about 1,685 students every year. So right now, on average, 488 of those students have completed their A through G requirements, 488. Now, if we were average with the state, and Dwayne DeWitt, I would love it if we were the best district in the state, or in the country, but if we were just average with the state, we would graduate 270 more students who are A through G every single year. That's probably about 3 times more people than are in this room right now. And those are all students in our district right now. So I just wanted to add that number before we start our discussion. And with that, I will turn to the board and see if you have questions for staff. Let's start with questions and we'll go. So, Director Anderson?
Well, I want to thank everyone who came out to talk tonight, and I hope that we can get the same sort of community inputs when we start talking about preschool and early education, because that's, I think, where access really starts to matter, and that's the first step, and that we really need to start talking about excellence for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and expecting that of everyone. But for tonight, I was just thinking, as parents were talking, that it wasn't that long ago that I had an 8th grader come home and say he wanted to take A through G. I had no idea what he was talking about. And we had to go to, outside presentations to find out more about what this whole system was about. So I'm curious, what are we doing now to educate families so that they know what A through G is and why they should consider those classes?
I know that our SOL counselors have done quite a bit of work with DLAC and have presented around A to G, and actually have also gone to SCO and presented there as well. And then through our college and career hubs, I know that we have opportunities for parents to come in, but we need to do more. We need to have more informational nights. We need to get out into the community, and if they can't come to us, then we need to go to them. And so part of what I heard tonight as well is that we need to spend more time educating all of our community around this.
Thank you. I agree that would be really helpful. And then I'm curious, of the students who do complete their A through G requirements, how many are accepted into UC or CSUs?
It's a great question, and I think we're probably going to have to come back with that data, but we definitely will. Thank you.
Director Christoph.
Thank you for the presentation, and I thank the audience and all the people that are still here. This is a seminal moment in terms of I think our community and a shift in our community. I have a lot to say about this and a lot of thoughts over the years. I think access has always been an important issue, and even though we have it, it's one of those little things that if you don't know about it, it's it doesn't jump out at you. So I'm going to follow up with what Evelyn said and Anna. For me, it's the devil's in the details. We obviously have a presentation. There's a point of view from our staff, the community that came out. Your arguments, your speeches were passionate, and as far as I'm concerned, equity, or at least the idea of equal access, is very, very important to me too. I grew up through the civil rights movement, and I know that it's a shame for me when I see all the money we've spent over the years to try and rectify the problems of equality, and to kind of be stuck in the same place we are. But I'd like to take this discussion further into the community. I don't know if there's a rush to do this. I think we should go as quickly as we can. But I'd like this conversation maybe to take place among parents who don't understand A to G, maybe at each of the high schools, to talk about what this is. I hear a lot of different things from different board members throughout the state. Communities wanting more CTE, wanting more voc ed, wanting different kind of programs that suit their community and their schools. So it would be an opportunity to gather a lot of information and to also educate our community as well. So my proposal is to take this same conversation advertise it well so that we can get parents, but have teachers involved as well. And the one thing I surely have learned about being on the legislative committee, the importance of having our students involved as well. Hearing students tonight is very important to me, and I think we need to do more of that. So when we do, if we do these community outreach kind of things, it would be great to make sure students were a part of that conversation. The devil for me is in the details. And I did do some research, read several articles on some of the schools that you presented. Now, there's 1,000 school districts in California, so we don't have a lot that are doing this, to be honest with you. But we do have, because of the nature of the schools and because they're closely looked at, we do have documentation. And I was reading newspaper articles about some of the bumps some of these schools had. So it would be very good to also kind of have a history of what worked and what didn't work. You know, I know that the support systems are going to be very, very important. And I'm not sure what they're going to look like, but we can't move forward. We can't have a plan unless we're real sure that we're going to have the support we need. And anyway, there's a lot of details that came out about what didn't work and what they learned over a year or two. So I would like to have that information before we tread down any road to make sure that we know, you know, what people have faced before. Thank you.
We can bring back some of that information. Also, Director Bettini will be doing a college and career update in April, and we'll be able to share some of the statistics that Director Anderson was asking for.
Director Sheffield.
I also want to echo a little bit what Evelyn had to say and what Ron had to say about educating our community and our parents. I don't know if Peter Rumble is still here. He's probably putting little ones to bed. He had expressed a commitment from the Metro Chamber to be engaged, to be a part of this, and I think this is an opportunity for us to work with the business community. We heard from a number of parents and people from the community out there who also could play a big role in helping us educate the community on what A through G is. There's not a lot that I think I can say to this because we heard from so many speakers tonight, but there was one parent who shared a story who said and ended what she had to say by saying all of our students should graduate with opportunities. And I think that, you know, as we look at A through G and we look at what we as a district, where we need to be, we know that we need to address the unequal or limited education opportunities that our students have. And for me personally, to address my concerns that students are being tracked away from college prep courses. And maybe lastly, and probably for me personally, most important is the racial and unconscious bias that we know exists. People in this room have experienced it. I've personally experienced it. We heard from parents whose children experience it. So I just want to thank the staff for putting this report together for us tonight. I think we have a lot to consider, and just want to stress that we have partners in the community that we can work with further education as we move forward on this dialogue. Thank you.
I have a comment.
Director Pugh.
Thank you. I would particularly, well, first of all, thank the audience for being here so late. We've listened to quite a few hours of testimony, and I thank you for waiting it out and being patient. And I thank staff for putting together this event, as well as this report, and the background material was most helpful in trying to figure out the right thing to do. For me, this item has less to do about A to G and more about access to higher ed. But what we've been doing for the last 20, 30 years doesn't seem to be really working. And so obviously we need to try to do something else. I would support the A to G discussion item that has been presented so far. I would like to have an implementation plan put together by the superintendent to see if we can actually help in that story of James, how quickly we could implement this before our community. So I'm there.
Director Fong, do you have, is that a yes? To the hand raise.
I'm very impressed with the number of people and representing all the different sectors of our society, our community, who've come together. And I also thank teacher Art Horner and Will for speaking. So I have a lot to say on this, a lot of thinking, and I'm thinking out loud, and I just want to share it with the board members and with the public and with staff. Thank you for the data. It was very helpful. I will say I'm going to put on a teacher lens right now. We have very committed staff, we have committed counselors, and we have committed teachers, and sometimes this sounds like it's an issue where it's the teachers who are not wanting to do this. But the teachers and the counselors are trying to look out for the very best for their students. And we've heard some anecdotes about how somebody steered you a different way or making you feel dumb or not like that. But I know that our counselors do know their kids well, and teachers do face a wide continuum of abilities in their classrooms, and it's very difficult for them to keep up with the curriculum as planned and having the discussions, and there are ways to do that. But I never want to say, and I am not saying at this time, and I don't want to hear, well, we should just have to have training about differentiation. We've heard that many times before, and that's an answer. We all want to have training. We should all have continuous learning, and that's good. So hold that thought for a second, because that's later on in my talk, but I just want to talk about, we have a moral imperative in our district. Frank, I agree. We need to move to all A to G, period. We just have to do this. It is egregious that we lag as we do in our state. The numbers are just not good enough for our district, not good for any child in our district. The data also shows that we're not consistent across our high schools. The decisions across our high schools are not consistent. We don't have a coherent system. We can't have that. College and career readiness is the only vehicle that is going to get our kids to a life that makes economic sense for them. To be able to buy a house, afford rent in this community, as we all know the issues there. It's the only thing that's going to do that. And again, it's not that everyone's going to college, but everyone needs minimum 2 years post-high school of something, and they need to be literate. And the standards are not about going to university. That's an access point. It is about the literacy that puts you on a level playing field in our 21st century economy. And if we don't do that in our high schools, TK to 12, all of our grades, we are not serving our students well. So I'm going back to the moral imperative. We have to have this. So let's go back to classrooms. We have, and you've heard me say this so many times, I'll probably say it every single meeting. We have a school system that is over 100 years old. We have structures that are 100 years old, the grading practices, the timing practices, the school year practice, how we move kids through grades. Every single practice is 150, 120 years old. It serves a structure that we no longer have today in the 21st century. It was a sorting structure back then in the industrial age. We still have that, and it prevents teachers from doing their very best job because they have to labor under those structures, and our administrators, our site administrators and our district administrators. We need to change some of these structures, and we need to start looking, and we need to talk to staff, we need to talk to teachers about what structures they need. So when we're talking about learning, we're talking about, we do not vary the time it takes to learn, right? I call it a 2x4x6 system. 2 semesters, 4 quarters, 6 periods. Everybody has to go through school in those 4 years. That's not true of everybody. Some kids need less time, and some kids need more time. We need to start to vary these structures. So we should vary the time for kids and the time for teachers to get the kids through that 10-page paper. We shouldn't vary the learning, because that's what we do. We don't vary the time, and we vary the learning. The kids get whatever they get in that 10-week grading period, and that's it. In that semester grading period, that's it. In that year, that's it. So, staff, please. Please bring back to us some ways that we can start to think about how we vary time and how we vary resources so that kids can get through A to G courses and so that teachers are supported in getting kids through those A to G courses. That's my request. Thank you.
Okay. I have a lot to say about this, and I've been having a lot to say about this for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and right now I'm wearing my just regular old board member hat, because I'm not going to do the board president summary thing, but I'm going to give you my thoughts. And I want to start with a quote from a lawsuit from a court in District of Columbia, and it's about tracking. And it's true that we do not have a actual tracking policy, but Esther Lemus's letter is right in that there is an informal practice of tracking because classes build on each other. So once you're in a regular track, then you're probably going to stay there. So this is a court from the DC Circuit talking about tracking. The court ordered an end to the unconstitutional system, saying even in concept, the track system is undemocratic and discriminatory. Its creator admits it's designed to prepare some children for white-collar and other children for blue-collar jobs. The danger of children completing their education wearing the wrong collar is far too great for this democracy to tolerate. So that quote is from 1967. In 1967, they said this was unconstitutional, discriminatory, and had to stop. So today, 51 years later, I don't think we can wait any longer. And I agree that there's a moral imperative here because this is a discriminatory practice. It might not be intended that way, but in practice and result it is. And under the law, by the way, that's the exact same thing. It doesn't matter under the law whether discrimination is intended or just results. It's still discrimination. Now, with respect to the idea that we take this out to the community and talk about it and shop it around and educate parents, I absolutely personally dismiss that idea. First of all, we don't need to educate any parents or anybody about it if it's the default. If it's the default and you have to opt out, then nobody needs to know about it. We don't need to tell anyone about it. The second thing is that when something is discriminatory, when something is wrong, changing it is urgent. It needs to happen now. When the Supreme Court said desegregate schools, they did not say form a committee and see how people are going to feel about it, and let's talk about implementation. They said with all deliberate speed, and that's what we need to do now. Second of all, the idea that we face some unique challenges that the rest of the state and other districts don't face is absurd, I think. Our students are just as capable as everybody else's students. Our demographics actually exactly match the demographics of the state, and yet we far underperform. And I don't think it's because our students don't have the ability, and I don't think it's because our teachers don't have the ability. I think it's because we up here have failed in creating a policy. So I find it insulting, actually, to our students and our teachers and our staff that we are going to expect less. So the next thing about this being it should be collaborative and it shouldn't be a top-down decision, well, that's just wrong because policy is our job. Policy is a top-down decision. We were elected, we ran for office, the people voted for us, they put us here to create policy. And by the way, this is already our policy. We did a strategic plan where we said we wanted kids to be college and career ready. College and career ready. That means A through G. And we have a board policy that says that our standards should be in line with the Common Core state standards. The Common Core state standards are in line with the A through G standards. So we've already decided this. So we're either going to do it or we're lying. So we either need to say this is the policy and then make it explicit with respect to our graduation requirements, or we need to be honest and say, we're going to only prepare some kids for college. That's what we need to change our policy to. So we got to make one change or another, but we need to be honest and consistent. I think that is, I don't find that this is something that we can wait on. I believe that we can do what most other districts can do. I would think that while generally I wouldn't want to encourage people to shoot for average, right now we got to shoot for average because we're way below it. So that's going to have to start with a policy change. So my personal opinion on direction to the board would be that I don't want there to be another year of 270 students not graduating A through G because we are that far below average, and bring our graduation requirements in line with our policy, our already stated policy, starting with next year's 9th grade class. So what I'd like to see from staff is a explicit graduation policy that is in line with the policy we've already decided, and as well as some ideas about how we can provide support where necessary, because there is going to be necessary support for students and for staff. Anybody else have any? I'm just being regular board member right now, so if anyone else has any other comments about about direction to staff. Yeah, Director Fong, and then Director Kristoff.
I just want to weigh in again on the supports, and Diane, we will need some classroom supports. Special ed, I've seen co-taught models that are very successful. We need EL support. We need support for kids who are anxious and traumatized, because those are the kids who are just falling by the wayside, who cannot do a 10-page paper in that amount of time with that. So what kind of supports are there? Redirect LCAP money, you'll figure that out. Because just wishing it so and just saying it so doesn't mean that all the kids are going to get through. So how do we do that? The devil is in the details, as Director Kristoff said.
We understand that it is going to take support for students and staff. We understand that. I can say personally that in my 34 years as an educator, this is, I think, my 5th or 6th district. Every single district I've been in has been A through G. And so, and the supports were there, and we know how to provide them. I want to make a point that if you look at the data on page 21, this one, and I don't know if it's too late to call it up here, but our students, our sites, our teachers and our administrators, if you look at the percentage of courses that are already A through G, we're not that far off. The switch has already begun and been going strong, okay? If you look at this one, it's this one right here. Is that the one that's up? Look at the percentages. 70s, 80s, 90% are already A through G. So in my mind, it's not going to be that much more that we need to do in terms of the 100%. But we will and definitely know we need to look at, here's the things that I've already thought of. We have to open up our college and career centers, our computer labs for longer times. We're going to have bilingual instructional assistants. We are going to have to take a look at special education. We're not talking about special education tonight, but that too is another gap. I have data that shows that 49% is really the target for special education students, okay? We're at 26%. So let us not forget about special education. So I feel very confident that we can bring back, we're already doing supports. We just need to do more. And we need to do some different ones. I have talked to staff about this because you do bring up a good point about alternative kinds of ways to support students through the curriculum. So I would say, and to say to this board, that this is the first district that I have come to in my 34 years that did not have A through G. And this is not going to be my last district that's going to be this way. So please let us know what you'd like to do, and we will bring that.
Thank you. Director Christoph?
Yes, I still think we'd be making a mistake by not going out to our community and having a discussion. I think we could learn a lot, get some insights, find out more about who we are as a total community. I mean, we are very large and diverse. 26 schools. We're making the shift to single-member districts, both at the city level and at the school board level. There's a lot of community building that needs to take place here, and I think a good thing to do would be to go out and talk honestly about this. And I also think, again, I'll reiterate, from the limited research I did, I think we can learn a lot by talking about the bumps that these major school districts had. The idea that graduation rates dropped down a couple years in a row at LA. What did they do to ensure that they went up? So if we have these kind of open, honest discussions, I don't think it's going to delay this process a whole bunch, but I think I would be more comfortable knowing that the implementation was, thoroughly vetted before, we started out down the road.
I'd like Director Romo Flores to come down and share DLAC's sentiments on A through G.
Good evening. Yes, so I took over DLAC, I think it was 2 years ago, and my very first couple of DLAC meetings, I had a parent that was in tears sharing her story, similar to the parent you heard here that was in tears. Wasn't that parent, though, that her child had been a straight A student, a couple of Bs, but for the most part, straight A student. And in all her conferences, she always heard that her child was doing great and that she was in all the regular classes and she was doing great. And the parent thought that meant she was on track to go to college. And so she tearfully shared that she and her daughter were devastated because her daughter was set on going to UC Davis, I believe it was. And she was in tears because her daughter could not go. After working so hard, could not go straight to UC Davis. She went to the JC. And so that was our first conversation about, kind of A through G. Because honestly, as an educator, I honestly did not even know what A through G was. And I just met with a team of middle school teachers, and they were like, what? What do you mean I have to be an A through G? What's that mean? They don't even know what, some of our own educators don't know what A through G is. And so to expect for us to be able to do that kind of communication with parents, I mean, it's a given, I think, I think they're so trusting. Somebody else mentioned about the fact that they are so trusting. They expect us to do the best by their students. And they don't think that we're going to put obstacles in their way. So they were blown away. Some of the parents had no idea that graduated from high school was not good enough to enter a four-year college. That was the majority of our families there. And so that educational piece of just explaining to families that, you have to have the certain classes to go to college, just blew them away. Like they were just devastated about it. And I also shared my own personal story because I have 5 siblings and I am the fifth of 6 kids, and I am the first in my family to go to college, and I shared that experience with them, and I think that's how it kind of opened up the conversation, because I was the only one in my family that was talked to by a counselor about options about going to college. So I went straight to Sac State right out of high school, but none of my other siblings had that conversation. And so I keep hearing, while our counselors inform our parents about the A through G and students are given the choice, but that's actually not the case. I mean, you can hear from all of the parents that are in here that they had no idea that there were certain classes that they had to take. They're not getting those conversations, and I keep hearing, well, our counselors inform them. That's not what I'm hearing from the parent group. maybe there's a language barrier, or I don't know what it is, but there's a disconnect. And so that information is not there. And even when we do provide the information, our SOL counselors have done an amazing job. I think it was mentioned earlier that they have presented at SCO. They've done several DLAC presentations. They presented at DAC what the A through G requirements are. And even with that explanation, it's confusing. It's still confusing to me, even as an educator. It's like, okay, you know, and trying to explain it to parents. It's a confusing process. And so I agree. I think it needs to be default because our parents just are trusting us. And they did not understand the fact that their kids were not going to be given the opportunity to go straight to a four-year college. And they keep hearing that regular is great, that they're doing great, and they're in the regular courses. They had no idea that those were not considered academic courses. So that's concerning.
Thank you, Rosalie. Yeah, I'm going to add one more thing that I forgot to say. So, the other thing that we do when we have this informal tracking system is that we create segregated classrooms. And so we are not benefiting from a diverse classroom. And in diverse classrooms, research has shown that everybody's achievement is increased, is improved. The top performers are not lowered, the bottom performers are brought up, and really everyone benefits. And people who get to choose their schools, like colleges, they go out of their way. In fact, they walk the line of legality to make sure that they have a diverse classroom. They curate diverse classrooms because it's so important to a positive learning environment. And that's not what we have when we have tracking systems. I agree with Director Christoph that we need to look at best practices at other districts. There is an article that says San Diego's graduation rate went down, and that was wrong because the researcher was counting as if C's were required for graduation, and it turned out to be wrong. Graduation rates actually went way up, and in fact, graduation rates go up whenever the districts change to A through G, and that's just the data. It's irrefutable. There also this whole, we need to have voc ed and CTE, absolutely, but we don't need to choose. That there's a false dichotomy there. And then with all due respect about this going back out of the community, I think the community came to us tonight. I think that was pretty clear. So, I think we have 4 people who said that we'd like to see an A through G policy come back to us, and so I'm going to direct staff there, and we can have more discussion and action item, hopefully at our next board meeting here in 3 weeks. Yes?
Is it feasible to have this something in place in August? Okay.
Yes. Yes, we can. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will thank you all for coming. We're going to take a 10-minute break and come back for the rest of the meeting. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. And we're at F2, which is a public hearing on Kidd Street Charter, and I will open the public hearing. I have no blue cards, so I will close the public hearing and move to F3, material revision on Kidd Street Charter.
Yes, good evening. President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight I have Kathleen Malamo with me, the director of Kidd Street Charter, and in your packet you do have their charter. The revision is asking to move their current charter from a K-8 to a K-6. And I just want Director Malamo to just speak to why that is, and then before I put it back over to the board, I have one little extra I'd like to say.
The main motivator of going back to just a elementary school is because we didn't have the enrollment that we thought we would. We did, surveys and one-call system surveys and had a lot of parents that seemed interested before we did the amendment a couple of years ago. And then when it came down to it, they really wanted more of a comprehensive site. So a lot of them have gone to Santa Rosa Middle, and we've actually been meeting with the staff at Santa Rosa Middle, and they've been great about placing our kids there. I was just telling Director Anderson that we had all of our transitional IEP meetings today for 4 of our kids at Santa Rosa Middle, and it's going to be a good spot for them, so we're not too worried.
Thank you. So our recommendation is to approve the material revision. I will say, though, that AB 1360 came out in January 2018, and it is an addition to the charter that was missed around pupil admission, suspension, and expulsion. So we're going to come back with the charter once that section's put in, but our recommendation to you tonight is to agree to the material revision so Kidd Street can start moving and transitioning out the 7th and 8th graders and start working on what they need to do for next year. And with that, I turn it over to the board.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Questions, comments? It's an action item.
I move item, I'm sorry, so many times. I move item F3, the material revision for Kidd Street Charter School.
Second.
Moved by Director Pugh, second by Director Fong. Roll call vote, please.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Fong? Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. And that brings us back to F4. The first reading of BP 3515, use of unmanned aircraft systems, UAS drones. I'm really surprised that everyone is gone. I can't believe they didn't want to stick around for this, for the drone policy. I hope your feelings aren't hurt, Rick.
I'm actually used to this size audience. Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight we're bringing forward the first reading of a drone policy for Santa Rosa City Schools. This was brought to us by Mr. Kirk Kruger at Pioneer High in the Geospatial or GIS program at Pioneer High for use as an educational tool at that school site. We have conferred with legal on this. We've also attached 3 other school district board policies that have been approved and in use. And as the rationale states, staff is recommending this policy with the use of drones on a case-by-case basis by superintendent or designee.
Director Anderson.
I'm just curious about the use of drones in an emergency situation. I would assume, I'm just curious if we would need to go through the process of getting permission, or if it's sort of understood that in, an emergency that perhaps the drones could be used.
Certainly, there's some very interesting rules around public employees and specifically school district employees using drones in the, if they're being paid for it as part of their job. That's a big differentiator in terms of licensing and acceptable use by the FAA. So we can certainly look into that more as well.
What problem does this policy solve?
One, it gives us board policy stating that we can use drones at school on an approval basis. When we bring back the policy for second reading, we'll also bring back the AR attached to it so that teachers, if it fits into their programmatic needs, can use these devices.
Otherwise, they can't use them. Without policy to support that they can be used for educational purposes, they're not allowed to use them. They wouldn't be allowed to use them.
So we're prohibited by federal law from using them?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Right.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so if there are no suggested revisions, then we'll just see it back. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, F5, Joel, you're up. 2016-17 audit findings, certification of corrective action.
Good evening, Board. So in February, the Board approved the 2016-17 audit, which audited our financial statements as well as our district business operations. And as a next step in that process, we have to have a response to the findings that were included in that report to our Sonoma County Office of Education. The report concluded with 6 findings. The first was on capital assets. The financial statement in the audit wasn't changed. It was the process at which they were tracked. We have a process in place, both in our financial system and our process that we're going to maintain and improve. The auditor, in each case, the auditor provided a recommendation, and our response was to to agree with the auditor's recommendation and adopt it and make those improvements. The second finding was on our accounts payable. We ended up paying some of the bond construction projects, their progress payments in the current fiscal year. We remove those and put those back in the prior year, but again, those won't affect this current year ending balance in the bond program. The third was we have post-employment benefits other than pension for our retirees. Included in the audit is an overall valuation of that program. It's periodic, and I think it's 2 or 4 years. Last year we didn't do that. Now, the audit finding was that the policy has changed for the government standards board to adopt a new GASB 75 that's due this year. So we're just going to move forward with doing that GASB 75 valuation included in this year's audit. The fourth was an ASB reporting where none of those financial reports were changed, but the process again, a week or 2 ago, we met with all the managers of the school managers and we gave them the updated policies, and we're getting those monthly reports as well as a clear final report that they're requesting. Then we had CalPads, which we had all of our free introduced meals. We had 3 applications that we couldn't confirm, so we had to redo that report, and we removed 3 students out of that count. Finishing off with ACES, we form after-school education safety program. We subcontract that work out to Boys and Girls Club. We went through the year collecting that attendance. The Boys and Girls Club ended up passing the audit by the fiscal department review, and then when we performed the audit, there was a file that went missing, so we weren't able to provide that recorded attendance in the final stages. But we did work out with Boys and Girls Club that we will have the attendance tracking. We're going to just do the normal procedures. I think it might have had a lot to do with some, like my position being vacant for a bit, but that wraps it up. So, and we provided those responses, and this complies with the county's requirement for responses to the audit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for, I know that was a lot of work and I appreciate it. So I need a motion to approve the audit finding certification of corrective action.
I move the item.
Second.
Moved by Director Anderson, second by Director Christoph. Roll call vote, please.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Fong.
Aye.
Director Pugh. Director Sheffield.
Aye.
President Close.
Aye. Okay, motion carries and we are adjourned.